confirmed moved out of China. Not all of it we have been the net beneficiary in terms of employment growth. It's obviously been the former tiger Asian economies, which has been Malaysia, Singapore, and so on and so forth, Thailand. But it's benefited us as well. 1 out of 5 companies are also still planning, saying how do they reduce their dependence on China, right? So that's happening as well in a big way. In all this, India is a big bright spot, right? And I think there's a lot of questions going on saying, what's really changed over the last 10 years? So one clearly is that there are global problems all around. But what's happening to India on its own? Let me give you some specific statistics, and that will let you know saying how things have really changed for us as well, right? If you look at 2011, the number of Indians who had bank accounts, and this is just one metric, it was hardly 44%. If you look at it right now, 2022, it's close to about 80%. Now that's a big change. Roughly about 37 crore bank accounts have got opened in the last 10 odd years. And no, these are not accounts which have been opened for the sake of being opened. There are about 1,80,000 crores which are deposited into this, and there's a degree of financial inclusion which has taken place. Right? It's always good to kind of understand saying how this is impacting the larger workforce. What about labor per se? Again, when we look at India, it's always the population middle class. You have MNCs kind of signing up India saying, hey, listen, big opportunity. But let's look at just the labor force, right? So India has about 145 crore population, right? The most populous country on earth. What is the working age population? The one is typically gets classified from 15 to 59. That's roughly about 90 odd crores. So 145, so remember that's 90 odd crores. What is the amount of population which is really working? That's roughly about 55 odd crores. So if you read Economic Times or any of those magazines and you hear one metric which is labor force participation, that is the number I'm talking about. So India is roughly about 40-41%. What is the formal workforce in that? That's roughly about, out of the 52 crores, roughly about 8 crores. That's us in this room. So 8 crores is the number which is coming from the 145 crores that is really formal workforce. Actually, if you drill down further, it's even more sparse, right? Out of the 8 crores, it's roughly about 3.8 crores which are permanent workforce, right? How do you correlate it back to some of the other statistics that you hear? The total number of people who filed income tax in 22-23, roughly about 7.2 crores. And remember, I'm saying filed, okay? Because out of the 7.2, only 2.8 really paid any tax. The rest were below the income tax. Only 2.8 crores people paid tax, right? If you look at the EPFO data, it's roughly about 6-7 odd crores. People who have even a PF, of any substance, right? Which largely means a large part of our workforce is not formalized. And this is an important aspect because if you really look at from a temporary workforce perspective, let's say, let me just give you an example for in the area that we operate, right, which is contract staffing. The total number of contract workers itself is 1.4 crores. If you look at tri-party contract, that's 42 lakhs. Is it any surprise that the attrition is so high? Because of the sheer demand and growth is all chasing a very small set of people. And that's one of the topics that we want to kind of discuss today, saying why exactly is attrition happening and what is that we are looking at doing to solving it. The second aspect I must point out, which is extremely important for us, the International Labour Organization has pointed out that for most economic development to happen across in large countries, the concept of apprenticeship really needs to take on. To give you an example, out of 10,000 workers, the expectation is anywhere between 250 to 1,500, right? So roughly about 50-odd%. What is it in China for its entire manufacturing miracle that took place? It's closer to 17%. What is it for India? It's only 7 out of 10,000, right? So amongst many other things, are we really expecting everybody to be, passing out of their high school, getting a graduation, getting a post-graduation before they're going to get employed? The large sections of the population? Perhaps not, right? And I think that's also one of the many problems that we need to look at solving. If you look at some of the reports which are coming out, one of the major reports which came out in July was the Goldman Sachs report saying by 2075, India will be a $52 trillion economy. It will be second only to China, displacing the United States. Now that's a big deal amongst many things. How will that happen? And what does the report essentially point out saying as to what is going to happen? I think they point out on 2 separate things which are going to be absolute key drivers for us. The number one thing everybody is looking at, it's called dependency ratio, right? Which is the dependency of the sheer number of non-working population to working population, for the next 25 years, it's going to be the lowest for us, right? So we have disproportionate number of people who are going to be in the working age population. The second thing which is being spoken about is productivity. Now, productivity, again, we spoke about, labor force participation, but when we speak about productivity, we are really essentially speaking about women participation. Women participation in India is still disproportionately low, right? And that is the aspect which really needs to kind of come along, for India to be really growing. And I'll give you several examples that we are noticing ourselves. 70% of all women who are employed in manufacturing is in the 4 southern states, or the 5 southern states now, right? Largely, women participation is not so much up in the north. So therefore, you see disproportionate number of manufacturing businesses are coming up in south because of education, and B, of course, because of education, their employability. So that's also we are seeing which is significantly changing. What does it eventually mean when we say productivity? Essentially, it comes down to saying for every unit of labor and capital, we get disproportionate growth, right? On 2nd and 3rd of August, 2 other things which happened. On 2nd of August, we saw Fitch downgraded, the US sovereign rating from, AA plus to AAA. On its own, nobody's really saying US is going to default on its debt or anything like that, but I think it was a significant thing. On 3rd of August, something even more important happened. China got downgraded to equal weight and India got upgraded to overweight, right? And these things are not to be taken lightly because it sends a signal to investors that, India is the place to kind of invest in. So in that sense, you look at some of these reports and you would want to believe saying India has arrived, right? But has it really arrived? Or are we really thinking, in our own terms, in a make-believe world saying we have arrived, right? Let's look at some other statistics to look at. So one thing is obviously we were 10th in GDP, we moved to 5th in GDP. But let's look at the per capita GDP and where we are. India still is in the 139th position at roughly $2,200 odd, on an annualized basis, right? Even if some of you are purists and want to look at purchasing power parity, it still doesn't get any better. It gets to 128. So we still have a very low, per capita income, right? Roughly about 2.5 lakhs. And why is that happening? It's the same set of reasons. Poor education, low skills, lack of infrastructure, and all of this needs to come together. So what about our dream of becoming 5 trillion, 10 trillion, and of course, not to mention 2047, if you're looking at 35 trillion, what is going to change? If that has to happen, then you can imagine if you do the maths backwards, it really comes down to each individual, having Bangalore's per capita income, right? About $11,000 to $12,000. If that happens, we become a $17 trillion economy. Without that, so if just a rough translation, it comes to about 15, 16 lakh rupees. So minimum wages have to go up to that particular limit. And you can't look at wages in isolation. You really have to look at productivity that will lead to wages and not wages going up in its own, which will cause inflation, right? Let's look at the other thing, which is, corporate attrition, which is taking place, right? If you look at global numbers, there's roughly about 14%. If you look at India numbers, it's about 25%. That's for last year. And it's also moderated by the fact that in reality, we are still 55% services, 17% is manufacturing. So manufacturing is moderating that number. Otherwise, in the services part, depending on which business you are in, I think the attrition ranges anywhere between 20-25% to closer to 40%. Unsustainable, I would say. It's simply not possible for us to be able to kind of sustain and be able to grow in that matter, given the effect of compounding which really takes place. Now, the question really is, we ask ourselves is, what is it, and why do we need to even debate this? And that's the question we ask ourselves at Teamlease as well. I think it's important to debate because we can't take this for granted. And I'll give you 2 completely separate examples, just to provoke some thought. There is this particular video, which BBC has shot, and this is roughly around July 1969 when man landed on moon. And there's a set of young people, and they take this video and you ask them saying, listen, what's going to happen in the next 50 years by 2019? And you'll not be surprised to hear saying, a lot of those young people saying, listen, we're going to have a colony on moon, we're going to travel on Mars. Nobody spoke about the internet or mobile phone or anything like that. And that really people believed will happen on its own, right? Cut to 2022, none of that has happened in reality. And that's largely because of the fact that nobody put the pedal to the gas, right, to accelerate it forward. We took it for granted that that's going to happen. Now, if that example looks very far-fetched, let me give you a country example. One of the countries with the highest per capita income and better than most European countries in the 30s and 40s was Argentina, right? They were poised to become the first world even at that point in time. But a series of decisions that they took in 1950 completely ensured saying, both from a labor capital perspective, they became what is called a middle income trap nation. They're still amongst the world top 20, but nowhere what they aspired to be. These were all a series of decisions that they took which made them come down this path. Therefore, it's extremely, and that's, by the way, Argentina has roughly 5 crore population. So at a 145 crore population, I think this makes it even more important for us. There is no doubt that there is a promise of India, but I think it's extremely important for us to make sure that we are aligned as to what is required to be achieved. And that's precisely the reason, why we are having this, debate. So the three topics Bhavna already spoke about. I look forward, and all the three topics are extremely pertinent. The human aspect of human capital, we were discussing just a few minutes back with, some of the speakers are going to speak. I think amongst many things, it is really important to know that while we are looking at a degree of efficiency, I think creativity, aspiration, innovation all comes from individuals, and that is the aspect that we need to look upon focusing as we are shifting from engaging with people only from a mercenary perspective to really look at saying how can they be really productive asset to the organization. The second topic we're discussing around about people in itself, whether they are an organizational asset or they're an asset, or we are really looking at them contributing to the organization as a whole. And the last and most important thing, we're looking at the future of work perspective, saying how are things going to change. I think these topics are specifically designed, obviously, for all of us to participate and us to learn from an eclectic set of panelists. I'm really looking forward, to these sessions, and I'm hoping, saying all of you, when you leave today, will at least have 1 or 2 points to kind of think about, as you make your way back to your work life. Thank you so much, and look forward to engaging with you throughout the day.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Karthik Narayan, for your insightful and inspiring keynote address. Your valuable insights have set the stage for a thought-provoking and enriching discussion throughout the day. Moving forward, we now have the first panel discussion on the topic, the humane aspect of human capital. I would like to invite the panelists on the stage, Ms. Smita Gurram, Mr. Abhijit Nadgowda, Mr. Yogesh Basole, and Mr. Shantanu Rooj, the moderator of the panel discussion. Please join me on the stage. We have the privilege of having distinguished experts on this panel, individuals who bring a wealth of experience in human resources and leadership. Please allow me to introduce our esteemed panelists. The first panelist, Mr. Yogesh Basole, is the head of human resources at Crompton Greaves Consumer Electricals Limited. He comes with more than 17 years of experience and previously worked with companies such as Workcraft, ITC Infotech, ITC Hotels, and Mahindra & Mahindra. Mr. Abhijit Nadgowda is the head of human resources function at Jyoti Labs. He holds a PGDM, Human Resource Management and Service from XLRI Jamshedpur, Human Resources Management and Services. He has also worked with Aarti Industries and Zuvenitech Healthcare Limited. Ms. Smita Gurram is the head of corporate HR at Mere Organics Private Limited. She comes with more than 14 years of experience in the HR domain and has previously worked with companies such as Lupin, Uric Pharma, Naprod Life Sciences, Godrej Memorial Hospital, and Johnson's Control. We are also privileged to have Mr. Shantanu Rooj, founder and CEO of Teamlease EdTech, who will be moderating the session. I now pass the discussion over to Mr. Shantanu.
Thank you. Good morning, all of you. This is interesting, right? Someone from India Education Forum asked me to moderate this event, and I was intrigued, Karthik. Why are you even debating this? I always thought that human resources, human capital, these two words went hand in hand. But possibly what has happened in the last few decades is that the second part of the word, the resources, has took precedence. We hire resources, we retain resources, we measure productivity of resources, ROI of resources. Right? Somewhere that other word, human, started losing its significance. So today, in our panel, हम आज मनुष्य में मनुष्य को ढूंढेंगे, मानव में मानवता को ढूंढेंगे. Actually, in सब में हम खुद को ढूंढेंगे. I remember that we exchanged some notes a few days back, right? We wanted to have it scripted. Wanted to make sure that you don't understand it. But trust me, while I was driving today, I decided to keep it more sublime. I actually forgot to bring my notes intentionally. We'll keep it more free-flowing because I think I want to learn from your experiences, from your stories, from your kahaniya, from your kissas, right? And take home back something which I can action on, something that can inspire my organization. Does it make sense? Thank you. Last evening, my daughter actually forced me to watch a movie, Chambers of Secrets. I remember Dumbledore told Harry Potter in Chambers of Secrets, it said that it's our choices more than our abilities which reveal who we truly are. Yogesh, my first question is to you. As a human resource professional, do you actually make choices when you think about human and think about resources? What do these two words signify to you? I'm coming to you because at least on the stage, you look to be the most experienced out of all of us, right? Yeah, thank you so much. That's what I meant. So are you actually making choices or they're more sublime between the two? What is your opinion?
Let me start with the first session title. I think this leaflet is in front of you. Before I come to your question to answer, let's see how we as human beings are wired and how the error flows through wiring the judgment. Human aspect of human capital. I see a huge paradox here. I would like you to raise your hands and say, you got the paradox. You are talking about being human, and then we are talking about human is a capital. Capital, let me go back to Adam Smith. I was just referring to on Google while I was coming. Adam Smith gave the theory, the philosopher, the economist, that the wealth of nations, what he wrote, and that is where the economic activity started, about putting people before the economic value. So I think whether we can kind of give all the credit to Adam Smith, or probably we look at and what you said about the economic statistics of nations, what you talked about the workforce, the labor force participation in the economic activities, highest in India, it's growing in India. So this is a little background to that. And when it comes to answer, how do you make the choices? Somewhere there is a bias in what we do. And that bias is like this. We're talking human, and then we are equating human to a capital. Capital is a resource. Human is a possibility. You have capital, you have infrastructure, you have machinery, factories, everything else. I think this is somewhere in the colonial rule over the country for a long time. We have forgotten that what it means to be Indian, what it means to be human. And when Britishers came to India, I'm sorry I'm little taking you back, but the way we are wired, it's all going to impact the skill capital of India. We are still talking India. India is heading most of the, the big fives CEOs are Indians that you all know. Most of them making a huge impact. One of the data showing that there are more Indians in ISRO, but not one American in, more Indians in NASA, but not one American in ISRO. Okay, so we belong to that nation. When Britishers came, we were 29% of world GDP. Narayan did not put this data in his statistics of future. He talked about 2075, we will be the second powerful economy after China, displacing America. But who we were before? In 18th century, probably we were the world #1 economy. Even I think it was China and India then, before Britishers came to India. About 29% of world GDP contributed from India. And when they left India, and then you know that story, we were hardly 1.5% of the world GDP. This nation has got intrinsic growth. So where are we making choices? I think the choices are still in our biases. Our bias is still that we treat people as commodity. We still look at countries as what Adam Smith to be blamed or respected, I don't know. But we still talk about people as capital, people as skill, people as commodity. So long in our paradigm, we are going to look down upon people as a commodity. I think our choices are by default exploitative. Narayan was talking before we started the session, how many, a public sector company was sharing, I would not quote the name, that they have not paid basic statutory dues of employees for a very, very long time. And the professional companies like Teamlease and like, they are the one who make the compliance a fair and, it ensures that it's a fair deal for people. So, but there are a lot of exploitation happening in our society. We have a mix of everything, we have, if you look at the unorganized sector in India is huge. The world over, the unorganized sector is huge. One of the, I think ILO's data showed it's around 92% in India. So there is a huge scope, opportunity to really make humane, towards being, towards our labor force that's highly vulnerable in India. A lot of women workforce, I was looking at it, they are paid very differently than the male in the workforce. Those biases are still there. I mean, you can look at it, could be, I mean, we talk about equal remuneration. However, at what corporate, organized sector and in corporates, we still talk about diversity. It's the tip of the iceberg. We are not actually doing enough and more as when it comes to diversity at all other strata of society and the unorganized sector. We are far away from it. So the choices are still, we feel we are coming from our, the way we look at our people, and we still need to correct that fundamentally. So long we don't correct the way we look at our people with respect, the choices are going to be exploitative.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I can't recall all the statistics you gave me, but then one thing that stood out definitely, Yogesh, is the fact that you said that as human beings, it's all about possibilities, right? We are a strong social animal. Things that actually excite us, things that actually motivate us are our emotions, belief, trust, loyalty, love, right? Things like that. And it's very difficult to measure, but then they're important, very difficult to ignore too. Coming back to you now, Smita, COVID-19 brought a few new trends, right? It talked about online meetings, Google and Zoom became prominent, shirts and lungis became commonplace, dress codes, right? Because people can't see what you're wearing. And it also brought the importance of social quotient in an organization. It started highlighting what can emotional connect do for organization. What can emotional bonding do for organization? What is work-life balance in an organization? It started highlighting all of these. Smita, in your experience, what's your opinion about all of these? How important are these traits for human productivity?
Yeah. So as we all know that COVID era, so we have faced many challenges, and still as India, we always stay strong. So we have come out from all these challenges. But then one challenge has remained unchanged that I feel is work-life balance, where in COVID era, we were working from home, and we were unable to distinguish that what is my work and what is my personal life. Okay, so where we were struggling that time, and I feel now also we are struggling the same, because we are unable to distinguish that when we are at work we should focus on our work, and when we are at home we should focus on our personal life. So there are 2-3 takeaways which I think we all have to work on. That is, one is we have to set the boundaries for us that when we are at work, we should focus on work. And when we are at home, we should focus on our personal life so that we will able to manage the work-life balance. So work-life balance will be never be the same for every individual. So might be it will be workable for me, but might not be workable for the some other person. It's very crucial for each individual to manage overall well-being. That is what I feel. One thing that we also have to focus upon, that we'll have to always learn to say no, where we all must be lacking because we want to impress our bosses. Then we have to please the management. That is what the case is now the happening in corporates. So whenever any task come to us, we we avoid saying no. We accept that, and then at the end of the day, we feel that we are overcommitted. Okay, so that thing I think so we need to look upon. As Narayan mentioned rightly that women are not paying correctly, or maybe there is a still distinguish. But then when see, I'm also here would like to tell you that I'm very much privileged to working with Mayor Organics, where we don't have diversity issues. Okay, we have 75% women working with us, including factory and in corporate. Even at the field, we are having almost around 40-60 percentage. So it's always a privilege. So where our more challenges are, that since we are working in corporate, there are 75% women are working. So they are more committed towards their family life also. So the balancing both the things is become a challenges sometimes. So that is what.
Yeah, so you started an interesting debate in my mind, work and life, or work is life, right? I'll come back to this discussion sometime. But then my next question is to you, Abhijit, right? So I remember David Kahneman once actually made a very interesting quip. He said that if you want to really go faster, the tendency is to put your foot on the accelerator. But sometimes it's important you just release your foot off the brake. My experience over the last 3 decades almost says that as human resource professionals, sometimes our policies, our governance structures, at times becomes a bit restrictive. Right? Is there a way that a role that human resource, human capital, or people care department plays, which can unleash the potential in every single person? What are the different ways that you think you have done in your experiences?
Thank you, Shantanu. And in fact, before I start my discussion, I want to really thank the the forum, which is basically today we are. Thanks to Karthik, Bala, I think for Shantanu, we are already discussing on different areas, but Naveen and entire Teamlease team for creating this event, because I think this is a very relevant context today we are discussing, and post-pandemic, I think this is something which is our priority today, because last few years probably we were busy in recovering it, and now the expectation is building up on Indian employers in a larger way. Karthik has mentioned that growth trajectory for the Indian organizations are relatively higher globally. So there's a lot of expectations in terms of how we will be defining it, probably how we are defining it, new normals in terms of getting into this competitive world. And that's the reason I feel these discussions and the forums are very, very important, wherein probably not only we are sharing, but we are also learning it from the different perspectives, how we'll be doing it. Coming back to you, Shantanu, I think it's a very valid juncture at this moment, if you look at it, that what kind of different ways we can have for, unleashing our potentials. I was referring to one of the McKinsey's report, and it was very clearly talking about globally and of course in Asian countries specific. What are those three areas wherein the HR leaders are making their priorities? Or what are those three priorities which will be definitely going to be tomorrow's high important priorities? Those are one, the employee experience. Second is about talent. And third is about our agile response to the ambiguity. I think the Karthik, what is very rightly talked about the attrition. I could see this employee experience part is closely connected with the attrition factor. Talent, of course, something which is always important, and I would say that area which is propelling the growth for any organization. Now, coming back to that, what is that unconventional approaches we can adopt it? I can share a few examples wherein what we have done in our organizations, in current as well as in the past organizations. Talent is something which is always, I would consider it is more as a contextual concept. I mean, it's probably, we cannot have any, I would say, though we do benchmarking and we have best practices, but we cannot have a copy pasting out of a concept that probably something is working somewhere, so we can probably adopt it and, our talent can be probably flourish in that way. It has to be, context and the culture specific, that what is the organization culture is basically looking towards and, wherein how we will be basically driving into the entire growth part. So here, typically, AID concept we are basically focusing it. That's about, A is basically, are we aligning the organization objectives with our talent portfolio? I mean, what is that basically we are looking when we are developing the talent, whether my business objectives are aligning with my talent strategy. I think that's the very important aspect when we say alignment of the objectives. Second, we talk about the integration. So here now, when we are talking about the integration, it is about 2 to 3 different aspects involved in the integration process. When we are talking about the integration vis-a-vis what is my outside market requirement, what is probably my capability requirement, wherein I am basically integrating with my entire internal processes. What is my technology piece, which is integrating it for driving this complete talent management? So that's a very important aspect when we talk about the integration portion, because if those integrations are not happening, internal as well as external, I think I'll be losing the entire essence, because I have a very fabulous talent management processes, but if those are not having those integration, I think my impact is not going to create in the entire process. And third is, that is AID. We are considering as a differentiations, that how I'm differentiating the entire process, how we are basically considering that differentiation vis-a-vis individual specific talent process or talent management activity. See, now the expectation is, what you are saying is that what differently, I think customized talent management process is expected. The time has gone that, we used to have a tailor-made talent management processes for all the set of my hypods, and probably I'll be driving it and then I'll be getting it, some kind of a outcome out of it. Now it has to be a specific to that particular critical role and specific to the particular position holders. I think the time has come towards that. So that differentiation factor is very important. How am I driving my entire piece in terms of differentiated career paths, differentiated talent management processes, which is going to basically create impact. Because unless until I'll not have any specific activities or specific paths, my entire outcome is going to be have a very generic instance. And wherein probably when we are looking, propelling the entire growth and engagement of the talent, I think this is something I felt very, very important. So that AID is something I would say that one of the important part. I'll just take 1 minute to share one example. In one of the previous organization, what we have driven is that when we have created the talent management process, we have also taken into consideration that where the individual aspirations vis-a-vis we have the organization goals. So typically, what happens that in a particular role only, we see to it that we are, preparing that capabilities. But here what we have done is that we have given the option that probably we have a cross-functional requirement as well. Wherever you feel that, that role you can take up and probably you can grow and probably create impact. For that, we have created the complete career path. And people have moved from, completely from supply chain to the sales, from sales to probably the production. So I think we have leveraged the benefit out of the entire process. And that's the reason now the dependability, Karthik, we could able to basically control it with that way. That's
excellent, excellent. So thank you so much. And I actually request all of you, I'm sure the audience will love it in case you can share some of your experiences, some of your stories, some of your failures that would have happened in the past from where we can all learn. These experiences and these examples would help a lot. Coming back to you, Yogesh, I have a specific question to you. Are you married?
Looks like. From my hairstyle.
This is googly. I don't know how to ask my second question because it confused me.
Asking a wrong question.
Okay, so my next
I'm married
question.
to my organization, to my profession.
Are you married to a girl?
I married to a girl.
Thank you.
Of
That's
course,
enough.
that was 22 years back.
Okay. So, okay, that was not my question. My question is next one. Do you like your wife? Do you love your wife?
I devoted to my wife. Can I use the other option?
So he answered that, right? So what he brought on the table, my question is yet to come, is there's a difference when you say, I like something and I love something. Right? Someone told me, I like my job, Shantanu. Good company, nice place, nice office. Right? Good people, no stress. They pay me well, nice coffee. I like my job. Somebody else told me, Shantanu, I love my job. When somebody says, I love my job, he's saying something different. He's saying that he's willing to make sacrifices for that job, right? Sacrifice of time, sacrifice of money. Because it says that even if somebody is willing to pay me 5,000 rupees extra, I'm not willing to leave this company because I love my job, right? For human beings, this emotion is important. Empathy, bonding, trust, belief, all of these things are important. But I'm actually at a loss of, Yogesh, about how to build all of these things. In your experience as a seasoned human resource professional, how do you build this culture where people start loving their job? There is a bonding amongst employees. There's a culture of oneness. There's a culture of alignment, as Abhijit said. How do you do all of these? Can you throw some lights about it?
Well, I'll try to. It's a very difficult subject. We have more than 7 billion people on the planet. And I would say everybody has a different ideology. But if we have to draw them into a classified, maybe cluster them under certain things, I can do it in 3 levels. What Martin Seligman, the positive psychology guru, brought into. Psychology is a key subject today. Some data I was referring to, because you call me here, I should look wiser and intelligent, so I read some statistics like you. There is about 80% of the people who hate their job. And 87% of the people are disengaged. So who is driving the economy? And what is the cost of 87% disengaged employees in billions, right? Now, when we look at these statistics, you are an HR guy who is supposed to have a magic wand, and everyone looks at you. Oh, you are some specialist. If there is an issue, they will come to you. They will create the mess, and they will come to HR. Yeah, attrition high hai. People are absconding. There are certain issues. People have manager and employee, tussle going around. Numbers are not getting met, and so on and so forth. And in an organization, HR has to decide whether it is empowered to do certain jobs, or they will still do the job towing the line of probably the power center. Most of the places it does that way, because then that HR is only an HR. Okay. There is a huge opportunity I see as an HR professional. And if HR has to emerge and really be an advocate of employee at the workplace, who can do that? If someone who is self-aware about who he or she is, and obviously look at the other with the same lens and awareness, I think then you can create an inclusion. If I am not aware about the way I am driven, I don't understand my own mind, how will I understand anybody's mind? And I will refer to my favorite Bhagavad Gita. Anybody has a problem can talk to me later. But it is answer to all the questions. Okay. When on a battlefield, as you know, Bhagavad Gita was given not sitting in a classroom like HR people do, you know. So it was where the action was happening. The highest knowledge, wisdom of human life and goal and purpose was given. And then a completely given up mind, a completely deranged mind, a hysterical mind of Arjuna was resurrected, and the rest you know. So what was the role of Krishna? I think probably that has to be a role of HR and line managers. So I really advocate, let me take Martin Seligman's 3 dimensions. Before that, psychology was considered to be the science of a sick mind. Obviously, what's wrong with you? Psychology. Now, post Martin Seligman's positive psychology approach, it is looking at how can we take to the peak performance, from a mean performance to the peak performance, right? So there is definitely a technology available that how it is only through emotions and it's not through logic that you can make transform an individual. One of the aspects of McKinsey's report, what you said, one of the key dimensions which if McKinsey have missed, or in the report it is missed, is leadership. I think in today's time, it is more about leadership. And leadership, not the authoritative type, but authentic leadership. I think leaders have to be vulnerable, and being vulnerable is where you create trust with people and high level of positivity. And who should create it? It is, I think it is only the leader, the line manager. And those dimensions, when you bring more in the organization, when I admit my mistakes in front of my team members, and I am exposed to being vulnerable, being authentic. I think this is this is the only way that in today's time where attritions are high, authentic leadership along with other dimensions, whatever we do in organization is secondary. I'll just share, as you asked me, you can stop me because generally I get a feedback that I don't stop once I start.
Then
So,
you can speak for another 30 seconds.
okay, so at Crompton, what we have doing presently, my team members who have made it happen is Neha and Falguni sitting out there. They have created a 6C framework. It sounds great. There are 6C, C for Crompton. So what does it do? The 6C are, C is for care, connect, collaborate, create, conquer, and celebrate. So we expect our managers, our entire team, to demonstrate this, because culture is such a dinosaur. Whether it is God or culture that you can't define, where it starts, what all it contains. Anything and everything you can say that gives identity to organization is culture, but nobody knows where to put a spot finger and say it is culture which is driving. So we made culture a little tangible. It's an audacious attempt that we are trying to do. We need to have a language in which we can talk. Are you caring? Are you connecting with your team? Are you collaborating? Are you creating something? Because I feel connected and retained. I get retained at a workplace because if I get to do something which I love to do at the workplace. And so this 6C framework, which is another circle around that, is about value proposition. What we have for is autonomy, experimentation, fulfillment,
Fantastic
and so on.
framework.
So this framework we have unfolded in the organization, and we want to take it deeper. This should be the common lingo. Everybody speaks in the organization and demonstrate.
Thank you.
So that is where we will be able to connect deeply with our people.
Yeah. Thank you so much. really interesting, but you actually spiked another debate in my mind, all about leadership, right? So I have been confused in this case, Yogesh, and my next question is to you, Smita, is the fact that is leadership actually a noun, adjective, or a verb? Does it sit in our designations, or does it sit in what we do? As all of us are aware that in most organizations, there are leaders and there are people who lead. People who lead do not bother about the designations. It's not the center of power. They're the people who inspire us with their actions every day. Right? In many organizations, I've seen that you take a bunch of people, take them to offsite 3 days, get a motivational speaker, all the 3-day session, come back, all of them are leaders, boom, right? I thought leaders are not made like that. Leadership is not only about intensity, it's also about consistency, right? It's about what you do every day. So my question to you, Smita, is that how do you foster this culture of leadership in an organization? Because I thought that's very important. That's what Yogesh was saying.
So, so as you mentioned that leadership is title or something else. So definitely leadership doesn't go along with title. So it is into the individual. So right now maybe I am heading HR, but then a few years back I was on executive level. So it's not that uh, I'm titled as an executive, so I cannot do anything extra or something new, which definitely can help the organization. So every individual, be it is a function of HR or some other function, uh, because every individual has their own capacities, capabilities, so they can use that and try to do something new and which will definitely help the organization. That is called as leadership. That is what I pursue. Then, if I also talk about the leadership, see, in Indian context, it definitely goes along with the title. But then, time has come that we should not go along with the titles. We should own whatever role we are doing it, and also we try to go along with it and try to deliver something more. That is what I feel.
Thank you so much. Interesting to see here very different perspectives of what leadership and leaders are all about, right? Changing track now, coming back to your Vijay. So people have told us, and I truly believe that the world of work is changing every day, right? In today's new world of work, soft skills are becoming more important than hard skills. Intangible assets are becoming more important than tangible assets. Soft power, it's our brand, goodwill. All of these things are becoming more important than hard power. Learnability, learning to learn, is becoming more important than knowledge. Right? In a situation like this, where lifelong learning is a reality, how does HR rise to the occasion? What role can your department play, or does it play, to ensure that we empower the organization to become the leaders of tomorrow?
Thanks, Shantanu. I think always capability building or learning is something which is hot topic, whether it is during VUCA world or pandemic or post-pandemic, or I think in the future of the readiness for the organization, whatever you take it. I think capability building is something which not only help the individuals, but at an organization stage also, it is a very different kind of a concept. And personally, I felt that there are different micro and macro aspects of the capability building wherein we worked upon, wherein we talk about the micro part, wherein definitely we talked at an individual stage that how we can probably ignite, how we can probably empower, how we can probably motivate individuals in terms of taking up various capability activities. And then probably we have different tools we are using it, the skill matrix and competency mapping and different kind of thing. But I feel, and when we're talking about the macro part, wherein we are talking about largely at an organization level, where is our capability and what we are looking for, or where we want to lead. So here, the basic fundamental aspect is that, as long as we are not going to focus to, make it this particular aspect as a cultural value, we are probably doing only the aesthetic part. And I think we are just, whether it is HR or line managers, anyone, I mean, I'm sure he will, believe this particular concept that it is, unfortunately, probably that could be the myth, but learning aspect or capability enhancement is not only HR's, complete accountability. It is basically a joint responsibility wherein the line functions or probably the different other support functions, those who are contributing towards organizational growth, is also equally part of this journey. So what, basic phenomena, what I was trying to explain you is that if we are making it as a part of culture, then I think driving this capability will not be a, I would say, Herculean task. It's more as a natural response and natural phenomena to entire process. In Aarti, what we have focused is that we have created a different, forums, different kind of a learning days, different kind of a learning platforms, wherein the focus was that people need to basically understand that what is the expected from the organization's future capability perspective. And then in that particular journey, how the individuals are going to be contributing it in terms of, reaching to a particular goal. So here, the canvas for learning was quite open. I mean, it was not that the typically probably the only on the job or probably will do it probably, the only kind of, formal kind of thing. So we work beyond 70-20-10 kind of a concept. So it was, though it is very methodical and followed and accepted across, but here the focus was that how we can probably connect it when it comes to the learning journey of individual. So the learning canvas was designed it in such a manner that every individual will have at least one opportunity to come up, and wherein this will be a more voluntary activity. So coaching was something which we promoted more. Rather, coaching and mentoring was the more focused. As he also said that leader's role is very important, or leadership is very important, wherein we focus that from the leadership development perspective, how that coaching and mentoring can be built in a more structured and probably more natural way, so that in the organization, learning can be a part of, or learning could be a byproduct of this entire process. And that has actually happened when the people started, every, individuals were having access to their mentors. And that mentoring process actually helped to a larger extent when they have taken up their areas, when they have taken up their canvas. So it was a structure, and it was also a very, I would say, fluid kind of arrangement, wherein the individual were having the open canvas, but that canvas on that, how to put it, how to draw that complete painting, when the mentor role was very important. And that culture has basically built in such a manner that the mentor or the, complete process wherein the mentor and mentee were creating that value. Similar, or rather parallelly, we were also ensured that the learning practices or probably learning areas which we have defined it, those are also basically connecting to the entire dot. So the entire process, we defined it in such a manner that the people were not felt it that, okay, now I need to go for a training. आज मुझे training जाके complete करना है, then only, I can go for a next work. So because that burden is still there at the back of the mind, I need to complete my work, and still my manager is asking me to attend that, so that particular day's work, when am I going to complete it? So, probably we are, as a professions, we are completing our KRS to complete mandates for certain, reportings and certain certifications. But then, are we really getting outcome out of it? So we actually thought on that process, and then we built the process of, highly on mentoring, which has actually helped us in developing certain skills. Not only that, but also developing towards the leadership of the mentors. So that's the whole process we have worked on.
Lovely. So I agree with you where you said that in yesteryears, in our times possibly, learning was unidirectional. There was a teacher, there was a student, and learning just flowed, right? Today, learning is all in there. It's in the ecosystem. And I actually agree with you when you said that learning in tomorrow's times is going to be something which is always on the go, online, on site, on the campus, multimodal, modular, crowdsourced, gamified. It's going to be something of very different type. I agree with you completely on this. Running short of time, my last question to you, Yogesh, before you opened up for questions. Because you have been always spiking a different debate in my mind, so this is a question to you. So in organizations, we have colleagues, we have employees, right? In defense, you have brothers and sisters, right? In your mind, who are we? As in, when we talk about an organizational context, are we a team? Are we a family? What are we? How do you build that culture of bonding, empathy, togetherness, alignment? How do you do this? What is, just define it in your mind what it is. It's a team or a family, and why?
Let me take to G20 motto, what India just hosted, G, 20 powerful nations in Delhi. Do you remember what's the motto? Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And so one dream, one goal, one future. That's the only panacea to have this world to have peace. We have got wars happening all over. Yeah, so this will go on. I think we need to draw inspiration out of that. Not that this was something imported in India. This is what ethos of India. Yeah. That we always look at not even the company, my fellow brethren in my company or around me, but the entire planet as a family. So I think a team is a part of it. Team is when there is a goal to achieve, and people have certain set of skill come together to achieve that goal, and then they disband and go. But family is always there. So I think I'll relate that, how as managers we create that family, how much time you spend at workplace and at home. Forget about the COVID period and all. Just look at the time that you spend at the workplace. How much time? About, if you put in, say, 80 years average span, and your working span is up to 60 years, okay? And those, the hours that you spend at work and related to work, and talking to colleagues, coming back home, you're on the phone. So I think, we divide life as work-life balance. I don't believe into it. There has to be balance inside mind, and you can find balance in work and home. There can't be two worlds. Life exists everywhere. I don't go to work dead and come alive at home. So, so family is all over. How do you look at people? I think it's more about our orientation. We look at people. We look at, this is business, this is my home. I have a different set of behavior here, a different set of behavior here. Somewhere, at workplace, when we look at each other as everybody is here for growth. Yeah. Everybody is here to unleash them to do the best. And if we look at people as human, that's what the subject is, and not capital. And then probably we can allow them to do the best they are good at, and allow them to learn and coach. I think so long we don't create this coaching culture in any organization, mentoring, or nowadays they talk about friendship. That is a friend, a mentor, and a leader. Yeah. So we need to, I think, become more inclusive. Recently we started one leadership module, since you touched upon. So we got our leadership module designed on 4 dimensions of 4 I's. I think I got this from Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev's program, which I attended a few years back, inspired by that. So Sadhguru said 4 I's are very important for an individual to transcend. One is inspiration, other is insight, third is inclusion, and fourth is influence. When you say inclusion, I don't think, there is that division happens in the mind. Inclusion is inclusion. I see the other one as me to that level. That is what G20's motto is also. So I think I might have answered you in a way or not, or left you confused further.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So we are almost at the end of time just now. But let me just draw your attention to the standee out there. That I love that one, right? So the one that shows up there. You know what I liked about it? I read the bottom 3 lines, putting India to work many times, though. What I loved about it is the first 2 words there says, I am, right? So I think miracles happen in an organization when you ensure that you do business with people, not who needs your service, but the one who believe in what you believe. You hire people not who don't just need your job and your paycheck, but who believe in what you believe. Because when you hire people who believe in what you believe, they will work for you with your sweat and tears and everything else. Others will only work for their paychecks. I think that's very important alignment. Thank you so much. All of you have been a fantastic audience. Now, we still have about 4.5 minutes left and we can take a few questions. Please identify yourself and also let us know who's your question directed towards. Any questions from the audience?
Yeah, my question to you, Abhijit, one aspect, which is very, has been kind of a trend over the last few years, more than before, is the fact that there is obviously a lot of business pressure on performance, etc., and all that. There is also what we say the employer-employee social contract, which has broken in some sense, right? The concept of second chances and third chances have completely gone away. Individuals join the company, you either perform or you perish, right? And that's clearly coming from the business and taking on the entire concept of Humane. Where do we draw the line? There is a business pressure which is intense, and there are obviously, individuals who we have seen leave a particular company and become exemplary performance somewhere else, right? So what do we do to kind of balance both of these, especially when we are hiring these people and some of these individuals are voluntarily joining us, right? Is there a template or a way to be able to balance these two?
Thanks. I think very important aspect is that unfortunately this is not a 2 minutes instant recipe wherein we can fix by saying that okay, probably we'll follow this and we can increase it. But then with whatever little experience I have, what we learned is that what kind of a cultural value we are creating in the organization, that is basically deciding that person's overall fitment to the organization or the performance deliverables of that particular organization. The survey says 90% when the employees are leaving, the one of the factor was constant is the cultural fitment. So though when we are hiring, definitely we are not hiring in people those who are not competent. And people were very much, matching with the competencies, and then only we are hiring it. But then, this aspect is happening. It means somewhere that cultural fitment we need to work on. And that cultural fitment, as I told you, it's not an overnight process. We need to have a very structured process. Again, referring to my last organization, wherein the culture building process, we used to start it from the day one. I mean, we call it employee experience and culture building. Both are very important aspects as far as attrition, arrest, and probably the productivity part is concerned. So wherein the employee experience actually starts, when the recruitment process starts. Then the, onboarding process, your engagement stage, your development and exit. So each stage that, your engagement is required to create that employee experience. If we are not probably able to create that, definitely any one of the missing factor will lead to attrition or non-performance. So I think I feel, the 5-stage employee experience process is very important. And again, this is a part of your culture. If you are focusing that when the actually candidate comes in and how we deliver that experience of recruitment, and probably it starts when the person is inside the organization, how are we actually dealing with that? That completely talks about how are we going to propel the performance of that individual, or how we are, making capable that person inside the organization, not only for the performance perspective, but also in terms of, adapting to the culture or the environment of the process. I hope I could able to answer.
We can possibly take one more question in case there's one. Yeah, ma'am.
Hi, Richa. Hi, everyone. Well, my question is to Richa. You said that you grew up from executive level to the head HR. Okay.
It's to her?
So, yeah,
Smita.
it's to Richa. So, at executive level, you have different challenges, and when you're growing up to head of the HR, you have different challenges. Okay, so what is the biggest challenge which you are facing and how did you cope up with that? That's my question.
Thank you for your question. So when I was on executive level, that time, I used to have the head HR. So that time, whatever problem comes up, we used to discuss with them and used to get the solution. And when I was an executive, that time, the challenge is very different. They were maybe 6 to 7 years back, right? Now the challenges are very different. So we have to also see the business continuity. So just two things which I will, share with everyone. That keeping the business continuity, we also have to, as we mentioned in the first topic about the work-life balance. I know it is very difficult to manage, but then still things I am trying in my current organization. It's just 1 month, and we are still on an evaluation stage where no one will sit in the office after 7 o'clock. And then second thing is, uh, no email replies from mobile. No one will carry the laptop at home. So this is what we have started. It's just a basic thing. And I have just started this 1 month back, and we are still on evaluation phase. If something is urgent, then only it is expected, or else no one will be questioned next day that why you have not replied on this mail, which I got after 7 o'clock. So this is what.
Thank you so much.
Hope I have answered to your question.
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You have been a fantastic audience. And thank you to all of you, Abhijit, Yogesh, Smita. Your insights and your experiences, I'm sure, will become a call to action for all of us. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, panelists, for your inspiring thoughts and insights. You have helped to draw our attention back to the importance of individual, the need of cultivating a culture of come and forth organization, which is driven down through authentic and inspirational leaders. And with that, we have come to the conclusion of the first panel discussion. A heartfelt gratitude to each and every esteemed panelist members, individuals for their contribution and engaging thoughts. Thank you once again, Ms. Smita, Mr. Abhijit, Mr. Yogesh, and Mr. Shantanu. Moving forward, let's move ahead with our second panel discussion, delving into the compelling topic, the power of people, catalyst or cogs in the machine. I would like to invite the panelists on the stage, Ms. 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐂𝐋𝐄 Mr. Manoj Shinde, Mr. Parth Bohra, and Mr. Bala Subramanian, the moderator for the panel discussion. Please join me on the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get to know our distinguished panelists and the exceptional insights that they bring to today's discussion. Ms. 𝐂𝐎𝐎𝐍𝐂𝐋𝐄 is currently the VP HR at Elastic Run. She comes with over 24 years of experience and a successful track record in industries ranging from IT, e-commerce, logistics, and supply chain and retail. She has previously worked with companies such as Neilsoft, 3D PLM, Software Solutions, KPIT Cummins Infosystem, and Metric Consultancy. Mr. Manoj Shinde is currently the VP and Head of Business at Gina & Company. He has been associated with the company for more than 17 years and has been responsible for USA, Canada, and South American business and network development at Gina & Company. Mr. Parth Bohra presently serves as the CFO at Fairpick, a prominent retail chain specializing in mobile accessories. He is an associate member of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and has previously worked with Singhi & Company as an associate. We are also delighted to have Mr. Bala Subramanian, VP and Business Head, Teamlease Services Limited, who will be moderating the session. I now pass the discussion over to Mr. Bala Subramanian.
Firstly, thank you so much to the three speakers who joined us today. We were supposed to be joined by Mr. 𝐿okeshSikha of Reliance Retail as well. Unfortunately, he couldn't come. We do understand that, of course, making it here from RCP in Ghansoli, Navi Mumbai during peak traffic is not easy at all. But having said that, he had other pressing engagements to take care of, so he couldn't join us. Well, of course, as Karthik said the context earlier, these are three completely different sessions, and we wanted to give three totally different flavors to the conversation today as well. We started off with the first session, the humane aspect of human capital, where it was primarily HR leaders from various consumer-oriented organizations, moderated also by an HR services provider. We've sought to make it a bit more balanced today here, as you can see. We have three senior leaders from three different business functions. We have Mr. Manoj, who is the Vice President and Business Head. We have Ms. Ekta, who is the Vice President of HR. And we also have Mr. Parth, who is the CFO. They not only represent three different business functions, they also represent three organizations in three completely different stages of their evolution or their life cycle itself. So Mr. Manoj is part of Gina and Company, which is a 120-year-old organization. Yeah, it's almost as old as Mahatma Gandhi himself. And out of those 120 years, he's been there in that company for almost 20 years himself. And we have Ms. Ekta, who is part of Elastic Run. Now, Elastic Run was minted as a unicorn last year. Last year was an extremely difficult period because in 2021, India as a country, as an economy, was able to more than double the number of unicorns we ever had until then. But 2022 was an extremely challenging year, but they still attained unicorn status last year. And we also have Mr. Parth, CFO of Fairpick, which is literally about to start their operations in the next 1 week's time. Yeah. So three different business functions being represented and three different organizations in three different stages of the life cycle. To explore this single most important question, are people catalysts or mere cogs in the machine? And we'll have to strip this down and look at people black and white as well. Of course, human beings are where we are. There has been about 250,000 years of evolution from us, living in the forests of Africa, as they call it, sub-Saharan Africa, to where we are today. But over the course of this time, of course, there have been a lot of innovators who have taken humanity as a civilization forward. But at the same time, we've also been distinctly able to draw from other resources as well. So we are gathered here today to look at what is the stack ranking of human resources. Should we call them human resources or human beings or human capital? Whatever the name is that you prefer to address us as. How do we stack as human beings versus other organizational assets or resources which are, which could be capital, great products, branding, technology, so on and so forth. Now, of course, it goes without saying that you definitely need a set of innovators, thinkers rather. And then you also need a set of doers. So it goes without saying that you need innovators, you need thinkers who can, like I mentioned before, carry humanity forward. But at the same time, really talking about the doers, essentially. So how do they stack versus other organizational assets? So that's the first question. Are human beings just another resource undeserving of special treatment? Or can they really be invested in to become a genuine source of competitive advantage for organizations? So I'll start with you, Ms. Ekta, so because you represent human resources, so I expect you to be the most vocal about this particular question. So how do you stack rank human beings?
Right. Bala, though my function is HR, but I take care of the whole capability building at Elastic Run, which is lightly into e-commerce and retail. So to me, this question is like, thousands and thousands of people that we gather into, but at the end of it, they become a number of what it is. So stacking of it is there. But at the end, if you look at the way technology has evolved or the numbers of productivity that we will further talk about, it is going to be at the end used and utilized by humans only. So how we look at it, for me, humans are going to be the foremost important asset or a resource for an organization. Also from, Parth's perspective, that finance, because that is the 85% of the cost. If you look today at a logistics or a retail business, it is the 85% plus cost of the manpower is the cost, which is your last mile delivery or is your last man ending. So if this is the biggest cost, then this is where the highest number of innovations will happen. And the adaptability of those innovations is what will bring you the kind of leverages that you're talking of. But it is humans who will deliver to humans the client experience, customer experience, every other parameter, metrics, the scorecards will be driven by how at the end the humans or the people or our associates who are working with us, how well are managed and how well are they motivated to ensure that you are in business and you are being successful.
Okay, fair enough. What is your take on that, Manoj? Because you two are from very similar businesses, the business of logistics and distribution. So at this point in time, we don't really have the level of automation that could completely change the dynamics of logistics industry. It is still largely people dependent. So as she said, the enablers and also the users, the consumers of all these other kinds of resources are human beings, which makes them critical to the organization, much more critical than the other resources. Is that your take as well, or you have a different point of view on this?
Hi, good morning, everyone. First of all, let me thanks IF and the Teamlease team. You have invited us here for this particular conference. So the point, we are into the logistic industry, our business into the service. We are into the service industry. So our total dependency of this business is on the manpower, human. See, today what we do, we are just associating with one customer, one parcel from one country to the another country. So this is a service which we provide to our valuable customers. So everything, the total dependency is on our employees only. So for us, the employee, I think it is very important aspects.
Okay, fair. So Parth, you are just in the process of setting up shop. So being the CFO, I mean, you're the man with the money. So, I mean, are human beings just another line item in your P&L? I mean, they are, of course. How do you allocate resources from a, say, capital investment standpoint? What percentage should go towards investing in human resources versus other aspects of the business? How did you arrive at that?
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. To answer your question, I would say that human resource investment is the only investment which will appreciate over time. Be it recessions or be it any time of the business life cycle, if you're investing in humans, that was the only resource which will be appreciating. If you're investing capital, it would go down during the time. During the time of recession, it will go down. If you're investing in technology, it would go down when there is new technology coming up. It is only the human resource investment which will actually bring you up in your business throughout your life cycle. So that is the main thing. And ours is a retail chain store. So the human touch is very important to us. Recently, I had gone with my friend to get a diamond set for his wife. So after he gifted the diamond set to his wife, he came to me and said that his wife was disappointed. I asked him why. So he was like, because she didn't have the buying experience while he was selecting the diamond set. That was more important to her wife than the diamond set. So the human touch will always be there in our society. That is what I see.
No, that's great. I think that's exactly why post-pandemic, there is a company, there is a startup that is setting up a retail chain of stores when everybody is into D2C and e-commerce and all that as well. So is that the similar sort of thought process you had in mind when you guys started out in setting up Fairpick as well as a retail chain of stores post-pandemic, the experience factor of it?
Yeah, so putting more thoughts into it, ours is not just a retail store, it's an omni-channel store. So we'll be having online sales as well, the website sales, the applications, and the retail stores. So we have actually mixed the online difficulties which the people are facing regards the delivery and the quality of the product by fixing it through the delivery line setup in the stores and through the stores, which is very near to the houses.
Got it. I think the moving.
Make a point, yeah.
Please.
See, today when we are looking at an environment like this where we all are understanding each other's language and there is no motivation required that I can show you, like he's a CFO, he can show you that if you buy a material from me, this will be your business of economics and you will do that. Now let's look at in tier 2 and tier 3 cities in India where the largest number of spending capability is there. There if you go and start telling them, they're much more smarter than us, they understand economics much more better than us. And still if you look at it today, because I have been going to, the rural India and ensuring that the shopkeepers and everything have spoken, if you ask them at the end of it, whom will you give? Let's say that he wants to buy 100 kilo ka गेहूं खरीदना है, चावल खरीदना है, तेल खरीदना है, साबुन खरीदना है. At the end, he is going to buy it from a person that he believes, he trusts, speaks his language, gives him that experience. So even a human, is going to be very important from a business. You can automate, you can bring in apps, you can automate to say that this is the script that you would have to be spoken. But at the end, it is humans who are going to make the leverage even in the terms of the business. So I wanted to make that point that it's much more beyond than, just cost or this.
No, absolutely. And I think you are specifically in the business of access to rural markets specifically. That's the plug and play model that you offer. And you are saying it cannot really work without the intervention of human beings, right? Mr. Manoj, you have.
I just want to add a few things here. In logistics service also, I think personal relationship with the customers are paramount. See, today we have best of the rates, best of the service, everything is in place. But what we expect from the customer, that personal touch is required. My salesperson, my team, they should be in front of the customer. If they feel, this particular salesperson are coming from Gina, sitting, sharing the thoughts each other, he's understanding my requirement. I think it is more than the rate what we give, more than the service which provide. That personal touch is very, very important. And without that, I don't think so we will be able to compete our business.
All right, fair enough. So moving on to the question of the big bad. The big bad in our times is AI. And AI looks like it's here to stay. Of course, the person who was the architect behind this, Sam Altman, is going around sounding like an evangelist, restricting people from using AI, just like how there is a famous anecdote about how Steve Jobs didn't want his children to use his own products. He's doing the same thing worldwide now, Sam Altman. So in this day and age of artificial intelligence, the thing is, of course, skills have changed over the course of time for the same set of people. Even over the last 10 years, for example, if you were to look at somebody who's working in the logistics industry itself, today, very basic English literacy, where he's able to at least read basic English words, is a must. And secondly, some form of digital literacy is also a must. Otherwise, he or she will not really be able to get a job, even as sort of an entry-level warehouse operations personnel or a last-mile delivery personnel. And having a license and being able to ride a motorcycle is a skill. So many of the jobs that we used to designate as unskilled aren't really so unskilled, right? So that way, with AI coming into the picture, which is probably the next stage of evolution, what kind of skills do you think will probably be outdated in the next few years' time? And what kind of new skills do you think will become part of mainstream? Just like how digital literacy and being able to read English, at least at a basic level, have become more mainstream now. So that's the question. Sekta, do you want to take a stab at it first?
I'll take it because I'm trying to have an experiment on that. I think it is going to change in HR. Is going to be a lot of impact because the whole overall hiring process or the large volume hiring or even little till mid-junior level hiring, there is a lot of things that could be getting replaced by an AI or by a machine learning. There are many organizations which are doing very, very good work in it. Is that, you have to specifically look at certain skill sets. Even the interview questions are getting into a standardization model. So a human intervention of just the screening of understanding whether the person is a fit or not, that would have a major impact onto the things. The aggregator model of talent, of partners and everything, that is also going to get impacted in a huge manner because that's where the whole data science and everything is going to come into work. We will see more and more smarter solutions in terms of logistics, in terms of route planning, in terms of where we used to say, आपको ये area पता है क्या, ये pin code कैसे divide होता है, ये होता है, all that is just going to, I give it 5 years, maybe 3 years, 5 years, it depends on the adaptability of it, but all that is just going to be, the best of things will come. But necessarily, I don't see it as a very negative or a doomsday. I think adaptability to AI will increase our efficiency and more and different kind of skill sets would be required. That we have yet to see that what will it into come to. But I think, in terms of recruiters, in terms of hiring managers, in terms of a lot of places where statistics or all that is used, those I see, particularly in logistics and retail, might get impacted, at least in my smaller purview of things. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, as you rightly said, it's very hard to pin down the exact set of skills that will be required in the next 5 or 10 years or so. But directionally speaking, what kind of skills do you think would be required for human beings to stay relevant with the advent of AI? Do you have any sort of maybe skilling
Bala,
roadmap?
at the start of it, first of all, is adaptability. First of all is that, if you see it and, at not at some level, but at a human level, if we see things and we think that, okay, this is how it is going to impact me rather than how is it going to overall interest me or how is it overall going to be better for me. Somewhere that adaptability and our mindsets have to be much better. And how do I ensure that humans are not displaced just like a number, and we have to see reskilling is there. There's a huge work that can be done about reskilling because though I'm doing an experiment on AI and we are trying to see certain things, and in the industry, many people are trying to do that. At the end, it has to be adopted by a human only. It has to be adopted by a human. At the end, the response to a set of questions also has to be given by a human only. It is not robots trying to hire robots. It is going to be used on humans, and somewhere that element will not go away. But I mentioned that very, very manual skills. When I say manual, I'm not saying of manual work or manual labor. I'm speaking of where a lot of manual interventions are required. Somebody making 30 calls, somebody reaching out to 100 people, somebody just gathering data. Somebody's job is when it is just to see to it that the data is coming and the data is getting presented. All those roles in an immediate future, I see getting impacted.
So, Mr. Manoj, wanted to come to you. So, being part of an organization that's 12 decades old, you've seen generations of technology come and go. Because when Gina and company started out, I think steam engine was probably the latest and greatest thing, right? And even, motor car became a commercially viable mode of transportation only in the middle of the previous century. You've seen all of that come and go, and you've survived and you're thriving as well. Wanted to understand, as an organization which has seen all these cycles of tech come and go, is AI really very exciting for you as a prospect for the future in boosting your business outcomes and productivity, or is it just another fad maybe, or somewhere in between?
Definitely the integration of artificial intelligence, AI, has helped us in the logistic services as well. Gina specifically, if I say, definitely I have seen last 20 years. When I joined, the software was different, and today what AI is doing. Now I'll give an example. I think there are few of customers here also. I have seen Crompton's, Mayor Organics. We have dealt with one of time somewhere. So very known names with me. So I'm just giving an example. Today, whatever documents we are receiving from the customers, all information are captured there. So what AI is doing, that ready-made data is transferring in my system. Earlier, during my time when I started my journey with the logistic company, we have to capture this data manually. But with this AI technology now, this tool are helping us to transfer that data automatically in our system. So I think that has reduced the cost. That has helped to speed up the process. Of course, human interventions are very important again, because my 80% work has done by the AI, but that 20%, the manual check, which is very, very essential because our documents are connected with the various organizations like customs, airline, shipping line. So end of the day, that accuracy of the information, that responsibility lies with us, but that AI has helped us to reduce that 80-90%. So I think it's a very helpful tool for the organization in terms of cost reducing, speed up the process.
It's fantastic to hear that you've already started deriving benefits out of AI by way of better efficiencies, be it in terms of cost or in terms of speed. That's great to hear.
I think there are many things which AI has developed. We have a digital solution team, Gina itself. I'm not a technical guy, but the only few key things which I am aware, which I'm sharing, but there are many more things which our digital solution team in Gina is already implementing in a big way. And if you ask me, in this 120 years journey, Gina has believed in the digital solution. That's why we have invested so large on this digital solution platform. And in Gina, we have the large team who manage this task inside the home.
So, Parth, coming to you, being a new age omni-channel retail company, wanted to understand, again, from a resource allocation perspective, how much is too much in AI and how much is just enough given where AI is today? How did you go about making a plan for that?
So to answer that, AI is something which people are fearing today. But the need of the hour is not to fear, it is to upskill yourself. AI is something which is asking for upskilling yourself. Uh, just recently, the Ganesh Utsav has passed by. So one of the name of Lord Ganesha is Vigneshwara. So why do we call Lord Ganesha Vigneshwara is because of the knowledge factor which Ganesha brings along with him. So that is where we need to compete with AI, we need to upskill ourselves. We need to get to new skills. And recently I had been to a visit to an LFR store. LFR is a long format retail store, around 2,000, 5,000 square feet stores. So in that, I happened to see a machine which was actually, moving and cleaning the whole area. So the sweeper's job and the cleaner's job was actually taken by that machine. But what the store had done was he had upskilled the labor who was actually sweeping the store to now being a gatekeeper. So he had the store had upskilled the labor's job. That is where we need to get our organization to upskilling that, because the human resource is the resource which brings value to our organization as and when they are progressing in our organization. So we should not leave the resource, or we should not remove the people, but instead we should look to upskill the people. That is where I think AI is going to help us upskill our resources.
Got it, got it. So from a product standpoint, in Fairpick, for example, how much allocation have you done towards AI? Is there any specific sort of number you can share, or maybe not at this point in time?
Actually, this is not the right point to discuss the numbers, because we are yet to get numbers on board. Once we get the numbers, definitely we can put more light on.
We'll have a separate discussion after that. All right. So I think all of you are alluding to the fact that there is a repurposing of human beings that we could do despite the advent of AI. I mean, we could always upskill them and find them maybe better roles or more productive jobs to do. Again, harping on what Karthik said earlier as well, that it's important for us as a nation to be able to deliver more productivity, and only then a case can be made for us to earn more wages, because we are among the lowest in the world when it comes to per capita income as well. And that's reflected by the fact that we are also among the lowest when it comes to per capita GDP. So the two are correlated. So if you get more productivity, your per capita GDP rises, and hence your per capita income also would rise. So it's great to see that you're all alluding to the same thing. And it also sort of reminds me of what Mr. Yogesh said in the previous session, that capital is a resource, but human is a possibility. So we should look at other possibilities for human beings to be able to fit them into other roles, which could be a step above where they are right now. Moving on to the third one, the third aspect of this discussion, the pursuit of productivity. Productivity is sort of the holy grail that everybody is looking for. And it's a little easier for us to have benchmark metrics for productivity with respect to other organizational resources like capital, for example, ROCE or day sales outstanding, and so on and so forth. But it's extremely hard from what we've seen, at least from our experience working with thousands of customers, that it's very hard to peg an absolute value towards what a human being's productivity should be in a certain role. So we use industry benchmark or peer averages as a proxy because we don't have an absolute number. So we use relative metrics. In that sense, how do you really think human resources or human beings' productivity can actually be measured? Do you also resort to doing peer benchmarking, or do you have some sort of absolute measures? I would like to start from you, Mr. Manoj.
About the productivity, definitely it's very important, because as I said, our business is also depend on the how many people's handling how many jobs. So the enhance the productivity from the workforce, I think what kind of things which we are implementing towards the employee engagement that help us. When I say employee engagement, means what are the things which are handled by the team, as a team, at a department level, at a branch level, at a whole company level. So what we have started a very unique program in G9 company. This is a service excellence program which we have implemented. This is related to the employee engagement. So with the service excellence program, what we have done, like we have given a task to the each departments. They are supposed to do certain activity within the time frame. So what we have done, they have to achieve this milestone as a team. For example, one department in Mumbai is handling particular activity. Same department in Delhi office may be doing that activity. So our system is giving that output, like these particular jobs have been done in the team within the particular time, and they have achieved this milestone. And if they achieve that milestone, they are eligible for the service excellence bonus. So this is the thing which are giving the benchmark to the other branches also. For example, Mumbai branches are capable to do 100 jobs in a particular time. So why can't this other branch is able to do the same thing? So we are giving those examples to each other.
Got it. Ms. Ekta, do you have a similar practice there? Because performance and productivity is one of the core functions of HR.
Absolutely.
So how much of peer benchmarking happens? How much of collaboration with business happens? And how do you come up with something that works not just for now, but also for the future? Because you are a new age company, you are a unicorn as well, and the path to profitability is crucial to take into consideration. How do you balance
the only
that?
thing that at the end will sustain. Jokes apart, productivity is in many terms. Productivity is also that how much work a person can deliver within the same cost, within the same time frame. And how do you ensure that you are not ballooning up your people who are working on your front line, and ensuring that you are still doing the 3x of the work or the 10x of the work that's there. See, peer benchmarking would not happen because, each organization's model would be different, and ours might be different because, if we are just doing a 3P model in logistic, it would be different than if you are having the full warehousing model. So it's going to be a different kind of benchmarks that would be involved. What I would say that organizations very keenly look at and business people look at, and the pressure is always on the enabling function, is that, like mine, is that, you give me the quality manpower, but they have to be productive in 3x, 4 or 5x. When I say the metric could be that, how many passes. Let's say that if we have a sort center, I hope everybody, a sort center is where all the parcels come up, let's say an Amazon or a Flipkart, and from there they go to their respective regions. That's how it is distributed. So a huge kind of a work that happens. In actual Amazon places, it is done by robots. In some places, it is done by individuals. Still, it is done by individuals, but the larger this thing is there. So the productivity would be that how many scanning is happening, how many products are coming into, how many scans are happening, how many scans are going out, what is happening in there. So productivity is people outcome processes. It's also at the end, as I mentioned, is that how much are you spending for getting a work done. And most important thing, Bala, I think, is do we incentivize productivity to take on what he was mentioning? On our own, maybe I will not do another 10,000 walks also. It's only because my watch tells me that you have to do another 2,000 steps. And that is the incentive of looking good work done. Hey, your watch says that today. And that's why you push yourself for that 10,000. Because somewhere my mind is then getting a reward that I have done something. So we have to look at incentivizing. How much are we incentivizing productivity? That's a very wonderful example that Manoj gave about how they are doing it in their organization. And so similarly, in many places, including my organization, at all levels, it is being done. And it is going to be, if we want to be sustainable, if we in the same cost, how do we deliver? Because the rates from the client and customers, the pressure will always be to be reducing, and our other cost will always be increasing. So the way ahead is always going to be how to increase the productivity, and all of us have a big role to play in it, not only the business and finance, but also all the enabling functions, that how do we ensure that. But the main point that I take it is that how are we incentivizing? Then only you will be able to see some change into it. Incentivizing could be anything, could be money, could be motivation, could be a way forward, further growth in your career, anything else, but it has to be incentivized. Then only there would be a way ahead in productivity.
Got it. The right incentives.
Just I want to add here, see what exactly we have implemented the process. See, we have given this task as a team, not as an individual. So if there are 15 people working on one particular department for what activity, so each person has a different activity, but end of the day, end of the month, if those 15 people achieve the entire milestone, then only as a department they are success and they are entitled for that incentive. So that helps to work as a team. If I'm doing my justice, you are doing your justice, but Bala, we expect he is supposed to do some activity, and if he's not doing, so then definitely we will go to him and say, Bala, you are not capturing this information on time. And as a result, we three are losing our incentive. So what's your challenge? We are a team. Then we will understand his challenge and we'll work as a team, and then we'll achieve that as a goal, as a department goal. And that goal will help to the bottom line of the company.
Right. No, I think that's the wonderful thing that you have said. All of us at, at some levels, just look at our individualistic goals. I have done it, so I get the badge or I get the brownie or whatever it is called, and I am the hero. But it is only when all of us will succeed, will the whole organization and everybody will do. Otherwise, this is just going to make more and more differentiators, and other things will creep in. So it's a wonderful.
In fact, what we have done, we have connected this activity with the external parties also. For example, I'm giving one shipment to one particular airlines, and they have assured me it will uplift on so and so date. Take an example, it is uplifting on the Sunday flight. But that shipment has not uplifted on the Sunday flight. It's my failure, and that my particular job will show in the negative mark. We have not done the justice, as 4 of us has not done the justice. So what we do, we call up that airlines. We go that extra mile. We call up that airlines, hey, we have given you this consignment and you're not booked as planned. So it has, undergone our performance. So that end of the day, it gives a final result to the customer also. That create accountability.
Yeah, I agree completely. It also brings it down to the most coveted thing that we speak about. What is it that you value in an organization? Do you value individual, individual success, or do you value overall cumulative success of the organization? And that's where the values and culture and all those principles that we call leadership principles play a very big role. That what gets rewarded. If today my manager gives me a pat on the back saying that, hey, you did fantastic, you bought 50,000 people, and at the end, if the shipments do not get delivered to the client and the end client is not happy, I think somewhere I have also failed. So I agree that's a fantastic example of that.
Thank you.
So great to hear that there is an ideal mix of both individual and also team incentives to be able to enable productivity so that they work as a whole and not as individuals. So Parth, coming to you, like how you have ROC, is there something like ROHC, like return on human capital employed or something like that you are maybe looking at? Because, I mean, the funding climate has completely changed, right? There were 45 unicorns, new unicorns in 2021. There is only one so far this year in India. That's it. And that too, it was a couple of days ago. So 9 months of no unicorns at all. So in this kind of environment, how do you ensure that you have the right metrics for productivity? Because at the unit level, if you have productivity, you'll be profitable at an organization level. So how do you do that?
So we basically, we started with a team of 5, and now we have hired almost around 100 plus people. And what we are looking at people is around, we are measuring their productivity with the passion which they are carrying towards their job. Because a passionate individual will actually put in more, and the more and more he works, he'll be more feeling that he has got more bonus to the work which is doing because of his passion to get this work done. Secondly, we classify people into 4 sets of mix. That is, one is skilled and a needy person, a skilled person which is not a needy person, unskilled person which is a needy person, and a unskilled person which is not a needy person. The last 3 set of people, we try and give them trainings and get them enabled to how the market requires them to be performing. And as regards the productivity, the unit level productivity we measure as Mr. Manoj and Ms. Ekta rightly said, that by allocating the group efforts of that particular store and incentivizing the whole store, not just a person, not just a manager. The whole store has been incentivized in our organization.
Fantastic to hear that. Last but not least, there is also a lot of buzz around new and emerging working models. This involves gig workers. You also have contract staff. You have remote work and hybrid work and so on and so forth. So in the future, how do you really see these new models being in your employee mix? And obviously the goal is to be able to drive towards better productivity and better outcomes for the organization. Do you see them having a stronger or a bigger mix in your future workforce compared to today, or not? If so, then why not? Yeah. So can we start with you?
I think this gig work concept, in particularly logistics service, we have seen. See, we have a core team, like those people who handle day-to-day functions. We look for the employee on a longer run. I can see in Gina, there are people, I'm just maybe 17 years, people in Gina, I have one gentleman is still working with Gina with 42 years. He's on a, so the
gig workers, I think that concept is not more suitable for the logistic industry, honestly, if you ask me. Yes, if you, at the lower level, at a loader level, or maybe at the warehouse, we can deploy the people. The challenge I foresee, we deal in that business where the confidential data, inside information, all those things, we cannot just outsource to the outside people. So at the moment, I have not seen much development, except the lower level works like the workers and the laborers. That's it.
So for you, a big turnoff against these new models is that there is data protection and privacy and security, which could get compromised by moving to these sort of new models.
If we outsource our information, I think that could be a problem for the organization. So that's why we keep that core activity within the organization with the own people's, own employees.
Got it. So is that something that you are looking at as well, where even if there is a mix of these emerging employment models that could only be at the periphery or at the fringes, and you don't really see that becoming mainstream, or how do you look at this?
See, one thing, another thing is that you also work with clients. So what information you are gathering, at the end, let's say that I'm doing a delivery for an e-commerce company. I am getting the data of their clients. It could be individuals, their phone numbers. There was in between a lot of discussion that happened upon, should the delivery boy also see the address in detail? Should he be seeing what is it, just the pin code basis that can be seen? So all these are very sensitive matters when it comes to when you are dealing with individuals. But at the same time, I feel that gig economy is benefiting a lot of population. Is rather than people indulging into some other activity, it's much better that they see to it that for some time they work and they get an earning and not restored to anything that happens, because this is in between becoming an industry in itself. Like Amazon published a number that for the coming the big festival this season, they have hired more than 1 lakh of people. So that means that there has been a employment of 1 lakh of people. Now it's seasonal. We all understand e-commerce is quite seasonal and this will go down. But to imagine that, an employment of 1 lakh people has been generated additional in this economy, in this condition, it itself, speaks that it is going to stay. And how do we regulate it? How do we organize it is what I say. But I agree to Manoj that not all jobs can become gig. But we have to become innovative, that what jobs can become, become a very, very work-based solutioning that should happen. And some job we will have to ensure that they remain within the organization. My bigger challenge is most of the time is not about information, other than information is reliability. Today, let's say that I get up and I don't feel like coming because, I get paid for the work that I do. I might not feel and I might not come, but if I'm an employee, if there is a reliability, if there is a connection and attachment to the organization, commitment, then I will turn up. I understand that how this impacts. So another thing is the reliability of it. It will totally not go away, but it has to be more organized. There has to be a code of conduct for suppliers as well as the gig workers who are coming into this. And we have to ensure very fair practices to them, be it their health insurance, and be there anything else, but their social security, be there anything else, that has to be looked into, and all of us can coexist into that.
Got it. So you still see it being definitely a part of the mix, but it may not really be a significant mix even in the near future.
See, Bala, point is that some of the, whether we like it or not, some of the jobs are not considered very, very respectful, are not considered that I would want to do even if there is a lot of money. To give an example, in this kind of seasons, and person who delivers, earns lakhs. I myself have processed those kind of payments, and all of us know that if you do that in lakhs. But if socially, if I come up to and say that, hey, this is what I'm doing, maybe your first reaction would be not so encouraging. We are not yet come to a level where you will be like, fantastic. But if I tell you that in the last 3 months, I earned 3 lakhs, then it might change your this thing. But that's the kind of earning potential that is there, and people earn. People earn much more than, I'm just telling you one example, but people earn, as he was saying, in courier and logistics and the CAM model, which is called the courier aggregator models. There is huge amount of money that gets, more and more you can earn. but it is not going to give away, it is not going to go away, because as I mentioned, there are some social, still some kind of a social barriers in our mindset, not ours, in general it is there. And so if it goes away, then maybe we can look at it. But today, be it students, be it part-timers, be it any time, all kind of workforces, please, it's giving flexibility. The biggest thing is flexibility. I myself, for one of the clients, have run a model which is like full woman, the kind of empowerment which is there, full woman, right from the warehouse till the last mile delivery, the whole sort center and everything is being driven by women. So the kind of empowerment it is being giving to the other section of society is just amazing. There's a woman I know in Hyderabad who, finishes off her work by 10 a.m., comes, delivers her stuff, earns this much money. She was telling that her neighbors scoff at her, but when they know that she earns this much, along with the flexibility of time that comes, ensuring that her, domestic responsibilities are not being sent. It's amazing the kind of empowerment that is coming into the society through this gig workforce.
No, absolutely. I think I'm really happy that you touched upon a very relevant point as well, because social stigma, social acceptance is still a problem with gig workers. But as you said, with more obvious visibility of the kind of flexibility they get, the empowerment that they get, as you said, with the good money that they have started making of late as well, I think the acceptance should definitely happen over a period of time. It's just a matter of time. Yeah,
right.
So,
and we have to appreciate that the gig workforce today, the pre-qualification, maybe some digital, understanding and everything which you understand, some understanding of, how do you drive yourself, how do you drive a two-wheeler. But other than that, if you have the willingness to it, you can still earn a very respectful. And I really appreciate and respect that we are bringing in that kind of an opportunity to people.
So Parth, how do you really see this emerging? Because, I mean, you're going to set up shop. Have you chosen to have a larger mix of gig workers because that's what everybody seems to be doing? Or you've gone the other way or somewhere in between?
Actually, we have not chosen a lot of gig workers because the problem with gig workers which we are facing is they are to be told what is to be done. There's nothing which is coming upfront from them. The new thing which is required for sales is not coming from them. So that is a problem which we are facing. Then another thing of I say we hire gig workers because we think what work will we give after a certain point of time to our employees. We fear the hands which we are gathering in, but we are actually not looking at the mind which is there between two hands which we are hiring in. If we focus on the mindset which we are hiring in instead of the hands which we are hiring in, I think the gig workers won't be hired as far as the non-technological aspect of the business is concerned. For technological aspect, even yes, we have outsourced it to the best guys because they are cheaper than getting the work done from an in-house team, and plus they bring on to a lot of new developments in the tech side which is coming up, which is yet unknown to the old school people. So that is how we have balanced the gig environment in our organization.
Got it. It's very refreshing to see that you're talking about outsourcing or using gig model for the expertise they have and not for just the cost aspect. A lot of people outsource, or work with gig model just to, improve the efficiency in terms of the cost advantages that they get, right? Fantastic. So that pretty much brings us to the end of this discussion. We have about close to 8 minutes to go to take questions. Yeah, can you just pass the mic?
Okay. Mine is a very specific question to the HR directed to Ekta. So Ekta, there's a buzz. We've all heard about the buzz around AI that we have. And also with that buzz, we hear that, AI is going to replace humans. However, I feel the opposite. With the AI, the pro is we have a lot of data and it can throw analytics, predictive analysis, which we are talking about, AI-driven analytics, which can help a lot of business decisions. So do you think this can also be used in HR? And if yes, what kind of decisions can be taken with this analytics which can help the business?
That's a very interesting question. I just didn't get your name.
I'm Vanshika.
Balshikha, right? Yeah. So see, the application of AI is something we are still not yet understood. Do you think that we are still grappling with it? It's like something that has come into our hat. You know, today you see a chat GPT, what kind of questions are getting into it. So it's like a new tool that has come into our hand, and what is to be done to it. In HR, it has a huge application. It has a huge application. Other than an employee engagement and an employee sensitivity part, you all have heard that, how do we do forecasting? How do we do an attrition forecasting? Today, if I tell you that there are 5 parameters that you would just have to ensure that goes into the data, that, somebody who's of this age or somebody who's looking at an organization has spent 3 years, and that gets from a productive analysis, and that's there, you will automatically know that who's going to be in your red or an orange zone that is going to be there. So it is huge, it is in attrition, it is going to be there. It is, as I mentioned to you, I see a lot of things that's happening in the L&D, in learning and development also it is going to be there, because at the end we are looking at that how do we have more and more competent people. So slowly you will say AI playing a very big role in learning and development, kind of, at least for, the 80% of the talent, how do we develop, what kind of skills we are going to put into it. It might get into an LMS, but there again, it's going to be there that, if Ekta does this course, her productivity increases by X, so this course becomes much more useful to us, and the cost of this course is going to be this much. So all that is going to come through AI only. And it is very useful for organizations like, which have huge network, like who are spread all across India, where you do not have that kind of an reach out to all the time that is there. So how do you gather data? How do you ensure that people's are, how do you stay in touch particularly? So technology is going to play a big role into it. Again, that is there. So we can go, Shika, we can go each stepwise in HR. It is going to be there. But my personal firm belief, not of any organization belief, is that human touch point is still going to be there. I can give you that on the paper that, hey, today Ekta is disturbed about the traffic in Mumbai. That is all I can tell you. How does it impact Ekta and what kind of solutioning will you give it to her is at the end going to be a human only. But it is going to be having an impact on, at least for you to have some data to start off with that, let's give me an example that somebody who joins an organization from, and let's say Jamnalal Bajaj, just taking an example, joins in Jamnalal Bajaj and stays with that organization for 3 years is what your AI says. And that, if he has done a role which is in marketing, he becomes promoted like that. So you are actually going to predict the whole career of that person in your organization. At the same time, you know that what kind of challenges will come up. I also feel that, a lot of time, the data that would help you with is in attrition. Are people leaving the same kind of manager? Are you saying that people are leaving the same kind of organization, in the sense industry? Are you seeing that there is more attrition happening in a particular, or when I say organization, I meant a department, a line of business? Is it happening more there? So where do you focus your energy? Because you are a human, where will you focus that energy? That AI is going to help you, yeah? Not a specific answer, but you would have to yourself think that how would you, see to it that this data will empower you to do a better role in HR.
True. Thank you.
Yeah. My question is to Ekta and Parth, because like Bala said, that you are at a certain, you're at a certain life cycle in your organization. So my question is, in the beginning, like we say, power of people, and there's just not a line item in the PNL. In the beginning, people, even if you take the right talent, the talented people, it takes time to integrate into the culture, into the process system. How is there something you did to make the transition smoother?
So that question was to me, right?
You and Ekta as well.
Okay.
Because
okay, so I'll take up that. Currently, we are hiring people, and we are still not got that kind of attrition. And the people are actually getting to know our policies. They are actually understanding what is to be done, what is not to be done, and how the softwares are working, how the performance would be judged. Once that life cycle of our organization has been crossed, that is when I think I'll be better able to answer to your query. But still, as far as my experience is concerned regarding managing people, the the human touch and the organization cultural values, which was done in our previous session. Our panelist rightly mentioned that uh, the four eyes concept and the six C's concept, which mentioned. I think that is what even we would like to incorporate in our organization and move forward.
Yeah. See, again, I did not get your name. Devo. See, Devo, when you start, if it's a startup, that let's say that different kind of people join different kind of organizations. If you join a Tata, you already know that what you're getting into, because you have a history. Like if you join his organization, you know the history, you know the leaders, you understand that what kind of things have happened here, and people stay there for a very long time. All that is there. Second is that if you join a startup, which is just 2 months back, 2 months, so right now for them is setting up the operations or setting up anything would be of priority. But what has worked till now and is that, the thought of belongingness, that I belong to this place, that, what I work matters. Whatever work I do, it matters in whatever level I do. And the direct access sometimes to founders, promoters, I will take it as managers, because not everywhere it's going to be that the founders, promoters, CEOs, on those are there. But at least your boss or your manager, the accessibility to it, the communication of it, knowing what the organization is doing, and you feel that you're belonging there, and the success matters. It's just not a job, is what helps in building the organization. There are different life cycles in an organization. I am speaking from what happens when you're building the organization. So if you're joining me, you have to believe in Ekta's vision, that Ekta has this vision and she's doing this, and I feel that, yeah, I should support her, because sometimes the times are crazy. Sometimes you're, it can become, after 7, before 7, doesn't matter. It's 24/7, 365 days when it is the, when the life cycle is of building. So that's where, the family feeling that, that's there. But organizations have to also avoid burnout. So there are a lot of things, those are there.
Actually, just to add on, ours has been the exact case where listening out to queries of people has been the primary responsibility of ours. Listening to the people's queries and then understanding what the problems which they are facing, and then hearing them out is the biggest thing which we are currently doing. Except for developing the application and the operations, we are the next biggest challenge is hearing out the queries and getting that time frame to hear out the queries and give the solutions. The solutions might be a one-liner solution, but then hearing out the pain which the employees are facing has been the biggest challenge which we are facing currently.
Yeah. We can always take it offline if there is. We can take it offline because we have 2-3 questions here. So yeah, we can take it offline. Thank you so much, Bala. It was very, very
Thank you, everyone.
interactive.
Thank you, Bala.
Thank you, Teamlease, for giving us the opportunity.
It is human creativity and human innovation that will drive the growth. And with that, the second panel discussion comes to an end. We extend our sincere appreciation to each esteemed panelist for their invaluable contribution. Thank you once again, Ms. Ekta Kulkarni, Mr. Manoj Shinde, Mr. Parth Bora, and Mr. Bala Subramanian. And now we would like to move ahead into our third panel discussion for today, a forward-looking exploration into the future of work and the evolving workforce. I would like to invite the panelists on the stage, Dr. Sanjeev Chauhan, Ms. Poonam Agarwal, and Mr. Sudeep George, the moderator of the panel discussion. Please join me on the stage, please. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to have a distinguished panel with each member being a visionary leader in their respective domains. Dr. Sanjeev Chauhan is the Director HR at Pepe Jeans. He comes with more than 15 years of HR experience across various organizations, including 𝐂𝐲𝐿 Clothing Limited, GGL, GMR Energy Limited, GVK Power and Infrastructure, LNG Bhilwara Group, and Shivalik Bimtal Controls. He is also a visiting faculty at IIM Amritsar, teaching essentials of business communication. Ms. Poonam Agarwal is currently the head of human resources at Bosch and Siemens Home Appliances. She is an HR leader with 21 years of experience in generalist human resources and has previously worked with companies such as Astac Group, ACG World, and Clariant Chemicals. We are also honored to have Mr. Sudeep George, COO of Teamlease Services Limited, who will be moderating the session. I now pass the discussion to Mr. Sudeep George. Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you, and good afternoon, and welcome to the last session for today's event. We've kept the most exciting topic for the last, which is essentially the future of work. Now, that's a very hot topic where there's lots of write-ups and discussions that are happening on it. And I think one thing that's very clear is that the future of work as we know this is going to change. And it's going to change because of a combination of a couple of things. One, there is transformative technologies that are going to get implemented, and we see that happening. You see changes in employer expectations, especially as there's a new generation entering the workforce. And you have chronic labor shortages and manpower shortages that we see. A combination of all of these things is fundamentally going to change and disrupt work as we know that today. And all these disruptions and changes are going to be seen across three dimensions. The first is, who does the work? The contract or the employment contract that we see is changing from, is it work going to be done by, full-time, part-time, gig? You're going to see how does work get done, as technologies and automation happens, a lot of the roles that organizations hire for are going to change, as will the skill sets required to do those jobs, right? And then the third is, where do we do work from? Is it in person? Is it part-time? Is it, gig, as we call it? And my first question, to the panelists and to start this discussion is, where do we see this going? What does the future hold for us? And how is it that organizations and leaders can prepare for the future? So if I could start with Dr. Sanjeev.
Yeah, thanks. So this is a question which has been arising in the mind of everyone. So I will say things has, changed very fast. You cannot live in the evening or in the afternoon based on your program in the morning. What was the critical in the morning? In the evening, it becomes less important. And what was critical in the morning or what was very important becomes least important in the evening. So see, these priorities keeps on changing from time to time. In pandemic, I understand, really in my career of 30 years, I have seen that I de-learned a lot of things when, the COVID came in. Particularly, the working from home was a new concept for me. And I was supposed to, pick up fast in order to be, at par with the requirement of the industry. To be very frank and honest with you, I started de-learning a lot of things. And during that time, I came to know that, the virtual meeting is also an art. It's going to be very difficult working at home rather than working in office, right? Now, what happened? It taught us a lot of lessons to us. I don't say what is right, what is wrong, but you can see in the present scenario, a lot of companies which are coming, let it be a lot of, the structured, established companies. You can see them, they are going forward. They have seen that a lot of, the talents are draining out. Why? Because the startups are wooing them and asking them to join them on virtue of the flexibility of work cultures. Now the companies have also started realizing that if they don't give the flexibility to the employees, they will lose the talent. That is only the reason I say that the hybrid work culture, it will be stay, and that is the need of the hours. You can see in the IT companies, a lot of IT companies have started, pushing. My daughter works with Accenture. She has been asked to come to the office even when they were given permanent work from home for last 2 years, because they have now feeling that the employees are supposed to come to the office, if not daily, at least once a week. That is what the requirement is going around. But what is right, what is wrong, that depends on the nature and the objectives of the organizations to organization. There is no set that in a organization work from home will work or not work. You can see the functions like HR, functions like the finance or the support functions can work from home. But the functions like sales, functions like customer facing roles cannot work from home. So that we need to understand. That is what I want to say in brief.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjeev. Poonam, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, thank you, Sudhi. I will start from where Dr. Sanjeev has left. So when did we come to know about this future of work? At least to me, it became a buzzword when the COVID was there. And everybody was talking about future of work because work environment was changing. The complete scenario was shifting and it was changing gears. And then we talked about new normal. And then when the pandemic got over, we spoke about new normal. So what has changed? Many organizations, including mine where I was employed earlier, never thought of working from home. The mindset was not there that one can operate work from home. And then the hybrid model came. And then now people are talking about coming back to office, not every day, at least once or twice in office. People have become more aware of work-life balance, more aware of mental health, well-being, more aware of diversity, being sensitive, being inclusive. So good part is that we have got to know about all these aspects very recently. And there is a shift which is happening in the way we work. And this is called future of work. The technology, the AI is taking over. People are talking about data science, machine learning, IoT, AI, right? And of course, it is not only applicable to IT segment, but even if you look at construction, field work, service industry, agriculture, everywhere technology is prevailing. And the best part is in future of work, we are going to utilize these technology to enable our work to become more efficient, make use of technology and keep going, yeah. At the same time, people are talking about flexible working, gig workers. Concept is picking up, not for all the work profiles, but for certain one, yes. I remember in my previous organization, when any vacancy used to get created, we used to first ask whether this can go as a gig work, whether this can be permanently replaced. Do you really need a permanent replacement? So people have started questioning, and that's the start. So of course there is taboo around gig work, but then it's going to go away very soon. And people prefer, especially the generation which is now, prefer flexible working hours, work flexibility, short assignments, would like to enjoy life, would like to balance it out. That's where the future of work going to be.
Thank you so much. So I want to touch upon, one U-turn that seems to happen is that, when the pandemic happened, and I can speak from my own example, I used to work head operations in an insurance company, and we could never imagine that operations and issuing insurance policies could happen virtually. But, necessity is the mother of all invention. We didn't have a choice. Within 1 week, we all got laptops and we started issuing, working from home. But and we always thought that work from home was something that was IT, right? And now, interestingly, we're seeing something switch the other way, is that the same, IT organizations where work from home was natural is now making a U-turn. All of them are saying that forget about hybrid. They're saying come to work every day. The largest, IT services organization has said come to work 5 days a week. Now, what's caused the change? Is it they're not being able to manage productivity because it seemed like a marriage made in heaven. But something seems to have changed, and it kind of goes back to what became very fashionable and very desirable during COVID. So what's changed?
To me?
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. So what happened during COVID time? I will be very practical what I have witnessed. What was COVID time? Everybody was struggling to survive. Everybody was wanting to grow. Yeah, there was a challenge in the system to grow the organization because everybody was scared of the role, whether my job will stay, not stay. If company doesn't grow, I will also be impacted party. So there was a purpose that everybody has to come together and work to these stretched hours to perform, to save my job and also to save my company. There was a larger purpose. That was during the crisis situation. As a human being, we collaborate better when there is a crisis, right? But what happened after COVID? So people have experienced, especially the Gen Z, I will be speaking more about because the more of a technology. They've started thinking, okay, this is my right and I need to get my work, my piece of cheese to balance my work life, and that's how it is. But so what has happened, the culture got hampered in the organization. The collaboration, what was working during COVID times is not working now because somebody was talking, I forgot the name, somebody was talking about how do we create culture in the organization, the leadership in the organization, working together, collaborating, etc., etc. Now I'll talk about the real practical example. When you're working from home and there was a huge, great attrition which happened some time back, and people have come and joined the organization. When you're working from, you're not even aware who has joined the organization. Probably you have not seen the face. And when you come to the office once in a while, you see these strange faces and then you're not able to connect with them. So what happens to the culture then? You're not able to share, you're not able to collaborate, you're not able to come together. So the company has taken a hit when it comes to culture. And strategy can only get implemented when we have the right set of culture in the organization. So when companies have realized that this is not going to work long term, companies have started taking U-turn that please come to work so that you understand each other, collaborate, do the cross-functional challenging assignment together, and of course, work on the strategy to achieve the main goal.
So Dr. Sanjeev, on the same point, you briefly talked about the fact that hybrid and flexibility of work is there. So is there conditions apply in terms of organizations implementing this? Because, you gave an example of your daughter. I'm sure she's not happy going back to work. My wife is a software engineer and she's certainly not happy being asked to go back to work, multiple days a week. So how does organizations balance it?
Yeah, you rightly put a question. Talking first about my daughter. So sooner she was told to come to the office, she resigned. So this is what the impact is. One, see, I'll tell you one thing. See, why organizational calling? But this is my, personal, experience. See what happens. When employees are told to work from home, right? This is only a trust which employer has that they are working, right? And they must be working also. But in terms of productivity, I say that productivity doesn't come because you work much more longer period than what is desired to work. You are not, you have put your office in your home, right? And you are disturbing the work-life balance also, right? And to be very frank, your family, comes to know actually what you work and what your boss says to you. So this is what is actually happening. I'll just tell you a very real example of my daughter when she used to work from home. Very honestly, one day I saw that she was working, she was traveling with me on a car. So I said, "Beta, you don't have the office today?" She said, "Yeah, I have an office." Then how do your company doesn't ask you? No, they monitor and track in what kind of login time I have taken in the laptop. And then how you're managing that? I have given my mouse to my mother-in-law. So she is kept in her pocket. So it keeps on moving. So my time is clicking. So see, this is only the reason that the organizations have lost that, the trust in the employees, and they have to start coming to work. Now, in talking about a Pepe in particular, right? We very honestly, we believe in, work-life balance, no doubt in this. We say that, coming to the office, say somewhere around 10:30, everybody should be in the office and can finish their work as per their requirement, and no person should sit beyond 7 o'clock. Majority of the people still keep on sitting. 8 o'clock, I've told security that anybody is sitting, they need to take my permission. It is only due to the reason that I want the people to go home. Now, believe me, our productivity has not gone down. We are doing good. Things are rising. You can see people. Our office is in Times Square office. You can see people moving around. They come to the office. They put their laptop back. There is no restriction from HR. When we put this, openness and giving the flexibility to the people and leave everything on the HODs, I think things works. Even work from home is also allowed for us. Any employee can take a work from home once in a week, but he has to give a schedule in advance, right? It should not be for the personal requirement. It should be the official requirements. This is what some kind of, the conditions when we put for the work from homes. Now, I don't say that basically, to be very frank, you already asked me, do we want to work from home? I say no. I don't want to work from home. But there are certain women employees, certainly they wish that they want to work from home, particularly the women employees who are expecting. We give them work from home. Or there are certain roles where we have, don't have in sitting office space condition. We take that some of the people can go permanent work from home. So these are the, the small times of adjustment organization keeps on doing from time to time. But what I feel is that basically the work from home as well as coming to the office hybrid model will stay, not today, it will stay for the future also.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sanjeev. My next question to you, Poonam, is that, it's very clear that, the skill sets that are required for the future workforce is very different. Now, I have a 12-year-old daughter, and what do I go back and tell her in terms of preparing her for the future? Because, the skills that were important for us when we passed out are very different from the future. So what, according to you, are the skill sets that are required for this generation to be successful in their working lives?
See, so it again depends on the role, right? Of course, technology is prevailing and every role will have some technological aspect. So that will definitely be prevailing, right? So how to use technology, and of course, organization provide sessions and the guidance, so it can be learned. That's one thing. So the skill set of the entire workforce is enhancing. We have never imagined before COVID that even the bhajiwala will use the technology to receive the payment. And how swiftly it happened, right? It was the demand. It was just a demand, and it just I would say the nation has adapted. And nothing is going to happen radical. It will happen gradually. Since we are talking about future of work, which will happen maybe 10 years or 15 years down the line, that means we are aware that is going to happen and is going to work. So Vanshika asked about how AI is going to be used in HR, and Ekta was answering to the extent that she covered all the aspects of HR, in fact. So technology is going to be prevailing in every aspect, even to the agriculture segment, or I was talking about the construction. It's going to be prevailing. Technology is going to become enabler for us and not the deterrent, right? Human will get more better jobs to do, leaving aside the clerical or the analytical job left with technology. So skill set has to be enhanced accordingly. And I am a very big fan of employment and employability. So I will touch upon that also. Until unless the practical experiences are not given to the students, this is not going to work, because you may read, you may study, you may gain knowledge, but until unless there is a practical exposure on the job learning happens, that's not going to, if that doesn't happen, then it's going to work. So we have to look at more integrated courses when it comes to education, so that the students who are passing out from the colleges, from the institutes, are employable, considering the technology shift which is happening in the organization, and not just IT, but across. That should be kept in mind.
My follow-up question, Dr. Sanjeev, is that do you see going forward soft skills being far more important for employees to be, productive in the workforce. Because when we passed out, it was all technical skills, and I think the first sign of getting soft skills is, an MBA course, because all that your MBA course taught you is to how to work in a group. Because we are all individual contributors in school, we studied. The question is to do better than the others. I think the first thing they teach you is to put everybody together and say, can you get it together and work together? So do you see the share of soft skills in the future being far more enhanced than today?
Yeah, before I touch on this point, I will just like to tell the audience. I heard Steve Jobs' one quote, which really, haunts me and influences me in my working. And even in my management, they agree when I told them this is what these views were. Steve Jobs said that, there is no sense of, hiring the smart people and telling them what to do, right? So you cannot hire the smart people and tell what to do. Rather, you should hire these smart people and they should tell what we should do, right? This is what the difference it has to come. Now, coming on the skill point, see, the skills. Yeah, I'll put you a real data of Indian Skill Survey of 2023. The labor workforce in India, 5% of workforce are only trained properly, who are skilled today. Only 5% people. What does this indicate? You see the other developed countries like Japan, South Korea, even Germany, is more than 80% people are trained. Then they are becoming trade skilled. But here we don't have this. You can see a lot of, the technicians, you can see the motor mechanics. They'll only know, ye garam tar hai, ye thanda tar hai. They will not come to know that this is positive or negative, right? But they know they are good people they are experts. So when we talk about skill sets, the training, fundamental training is still lacking, one. Second is that basically when going forward, the skills what are required, right? There is a huge depth of skill sets. I can see not only, I talk about our brand, particularly let me touch upon. We require a lot of skilled people, particularly in the front-end staff, but certainly we don't get the people. We have to put the people on the floor, train them for 3 months and 4 months of our own, learning while doing, or sometimes do an induction training of 15 days, then basically put in the systems. Things are happening. But to be very frank, what she rightly said, that employability and making the people employable, that is one of the challenges which we are facing in the industry. The skills which are going to come up, the technology skills are lacking. You can see AI, machine learning skills. There are almost 20 million jobs which is to come by 2026 as per the survey and the government predictions. But I don't think so this skill sets requirement will be fulfilled, because there are very less institutes which gives such kind of training to the people. I am in the academic council of the UBS, which is in Karjat. It is one of the India's single AI university, right? I will suggest any one of you get time, please go there and see how they are grooming the talent. This is one of the best universities, and I think it has been supported by the government. So such kind of universities will come, then only the dearth of the skill sets of AI, machine learning will come out. Otherwise, today, people are not that much savvy. And to be very frank, the generations like us who did not, who took the basically the initiatives to de-learn the things and were able to basically come up to this stage, we were able to survive. Otherwise, I have seen a lot of my CHROs were out of the, the race when the systems and technology started happening. Today, I also, keep on learning small things. If somebody tells me, let me do it for you. No, you tell me how it works. That is what the curiosity and the learning attitude one should have in order to acquire that skill sets. So these skill sets, yes, there is certainly a dearth of skill sets in the India, I can say. And a lot of the government has to do in this regard. But it is not only that, it is also the organizations. I can also tell the people in the companies are getting retained only because if they find that the training are taken care by the companies. If the companies are taking care for them, for their giving them trainings, people are retaining. You can see the survey of the LinkedIn survey of 2022, which says that the employees which organization gives the training, they get retained by 26% of the retentions. So I say that going forward, the skills
are differing from the industry to industry, but certainly there is a certainly dearth of the skill sets in India.
Okay. Thank you. I also now want to talk about the big elephant in the room, and that's attrition. And I think different speakers talked about the fact that because you have a supply side crunch, there is lots of jobs chasing few talent. Hello? Yeah. Is that given that you've got a generational shift of new people coming in, plus the contract changing from full-time to part-time, is it realistic to expect that employees will stay a long period of time in an organization? Or do we make peace with the fact that they will come and go? Should organizations in the future continue to invest in long-term career progression, training, and to ensure that people stay around for a period of time?
Very good question, Sudhi. I was talking to somebody, a very renowned business owner. This Saturday, I was talking to him, and then he was sharing his vision with me that he would like to employ management trainees who will become the managing director maybe 15, 20 years down the line. Yeah, that was the vision he was sharing. And in my mind, though I have not contradicted him on the call, but in my mind, I was always thinking that's not going to happen. Because now the definition of loyalty has completely shifted. Initially, it was counted by number of years. Now, the game plan is what contributions you have made in the organization in first year, second year, third year. And the moment I feel as an individual that I have learned enough and I would like to explore outside to learn more skills in different industry, then I will move. My loyalty with the organization was up to when the work was desired. Now I have set everything. Somebody new can come and take this to the next level. Now, if you look at the definitions, this is the definition of today. So even if in organization, one person stays for 2 years, 2.5 years, 3 years, it's a good time to stay. And as an employer, we have to digest this. You will see the trend shifting at home also, like how at the age of, let's say, 19, 20 years when I was, and now when my daughter is at 19, 20 years, I see a drastic shift in the thought process, how she operates, the expectation, what kind of respect she gives to me and to the grandparents. And that is also getting reflected in the organization. It's not different, right? All the societal changes, what you see and witness, is also getting experienced in the organization. When we give complete listening to the child and we adapt as a parent, then why we are not able to do the same when it comes to organization as a manager is a larger question. So let's accept the fact that attrition will remain in certain pockets, to be very frank. But as an organization, we should be aware where the attrition is okay to have and where not. And wherever attrition is not okay to have, we have to build an organization by identifying those critical positions, giving the in-house career to those selected people and make them grow where we want to make them grow. So we have to also adapt our intervention when it comes to retention. So in certain roles, it can be okay. In certain roles, it cannot be. So have to have a contingency plan. How do we operate? So that's the solution I would propose.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Sanjeev, you touched upon a very interesting point on the breakdown of trust. And essentially, a long-term relationship and any kind of relationship, the bedrock of that is trust, whether it's a relationship, whether it's an employee-employee relationship. So if you look at this mass resignation trend that we saw, employees being disengaged, is it symptomatic of a larger problem that trust has broken down? And what can organizations do to build that? Because obviously a disengaged employee is a lower productive employee. So what are your thoughts on that, Dr. Sanjeev?
Yeah, very good question. See, let's go back to, I'll talk my parents, my father, or most of our fathers, parents we have seen in the earlier. Earlier, they used to stick around the company for say about 20 years, 25 years. They used to retire from the same company when they were joined, right? I've seen a lot of people, you see in Godrej, you see in Tata, there are people who have joined that company as an assistant and they've retired and as a manager or whatever the designation they go upon. Now, the stability was very important during those days, right? The people used to stay there. They used to basically, even an HR people, when you used to say that the people is not stable, is not put good length of service in any organization, they're not shortlist the candidates at all. But gradually, you know, before pandemic, you know, this started declining, the tenure started declining, and it came down somewhere around 5 years, right? So people used to say that normally they used to stick for 5 years, right? This was the basically general tenures, right? But today, as per the bridge report, any employee who comes in doesn't stay for more than an average for 1.8 years. Means 1 year and 8 months he stays in the organizations. Why he doesn't want to stay? Is there a breach of trust, or is there any other reason? Question is that the employees earlier what employee used to do, they used to search for jobs. Why? Because if they don't get the right salaries, they don't get the right boss, they don't get the right kind of career progressions, they used to start searching the jobs. But today that is not the reason. According to me, which I do a lot of research, because in IIM when I teach, so there I do a lot of research. Recent research which I did, in that it came out to me that why employee are, how to retain this employee, how to create their trust. To have their trust with us, I think the managers has to focus on 3 aspects. One is the culture. Culture of the organization is very important, right? If the culture is good, the employees will stay back. If the culture is not good, if the culture is toxic, no good employees will stay. One. Second is the engagement level, right? How the employees are engaged. If the number of the employees are engaged more, they stay for a long. If the employees are disengaged, what he rightly said, the people will start leaving. And third is, which is recently coming in, is terms of training, right? So the organizations which bothers for them, invest in them, then they stay back. They say that the organizations they feel that they will be able to do a justice in that organization, and the organization is caring from them. But still, you will be very astonished to know, as per the recent study, in April, 26% of the employees start looking for job after the appraisals are done, right? Why? It is not only that, they are not, they don't believe that the performance appraisal cycle is not good, or they have been not recognized. These things happened. Now, as an HR, as an HOD, we need to handle them at that particular juncture very sophisticatedly and very maturely. Now, what managers should do in order to retain these people, right? I will say 3 things the managers should do in order to retain these people. And we should help the managers in this, because the way the attrition is happening, it is very difficult. Today, believe me, when I take an interview, recently I'll tell you, one of the girl I was taking an interview, and before I could ask some structured question to us, I was surprised that she was having a list of structured question to be asked to me. So she said, sir, do you allow I have something to ask to you? Yes. Then she asked me, what is your culture? What is your time? What are your visions? Where do your company want to go? I was saying that I am giving interview, or she is taking my interview. So this is how the things are. People are so curious to know about the companies. They Google a lot and come to the company. The negative feedback which goes around in the mass media by our outgoing employees, that impacts a lot, because you will not get good talents. So you have to ensure that you are putting it right. So how do we retain these people? So for me, to create the trust and bring in trust, what managers should do is, now the career discussions, what they make with the employees during the PMS cycle or daily routine discussions, they have to shift from promotions to progressions. So they have to tell to the employees that we are not only giving you promotions, we are talking about the progression, not progression in the same vertical, across the verticals of the organizations. One. Second is that they have to structure the progression experience in such a manner that employee should feel that he has got a career in this organization. And third, but not the least, that the managers who are able to retain their the team members should not be rewarded. Only those managers should be rewarded who are able to retain the team members of not only of their team, but across the organizations, right? So if that things start happening, then you will find that the trust of the employees in the organization will stay.
Thank you.
One more point I will add here. Some 4 months back, I was attending a seminar or a conference of Michael Page, and they have thrown a data that more than 90% people are open for better options. Means though I like the job, I don't love, but then I like the job, I like the profile, I like the company. But at the same time, if you give me something better, I'm open towards it, right? And that's a data which has really shaken me as an HR professional that, okay, fine, this is also true for my organization. That means what we are doing as a differentiating factor so that this 90 becomes 50 at least. So that's a reality and we have to embrace it.
Yeah. So, as they say, happiness is the difference between expectation and reality. So as managers, do we accept the fact that the world of work will change and getting people to stay long-term, is not going to happen? So our definition of long-term, as Dr. Sanjeev said, is not 5 years, it's 2 years. So should we make peace with that?
Peace, I would say partially yes for certain roles, but organization cannot suffer, cannot be left to suffering because of this. So we have to have strategies for certain set of roles which should be grown internally with more stable people and and of course we have to give them satisfaction internally with respect to our knowledge enhancement, what Dr. Sanjeev was talking about, the skill enhancement, the learning, the certifications, the overall grooming has to happen for those individuals on whom we can invest, we think we can invest, and then the progression should be captured, monitored, and checks should be done on a regular basis, whether that person, the roadmap or the path which we have built for that individual is going in the right path, what challenges that person is facing, how do we enable it. So those strategies should be made for certain roles, because for certain roles you cannot have early attritions or the heavy attritions like that, because that is very niche to the organization, and getting those skill set from outside will be a Herculean task. So we have to identify and then we have to build the organization talent pipeline to ensure that organization is not put at risk. So de-risking becomes important, but at the same time you have to embrace.
One thing that's common when you speak to everybody is the fact that India has a shortage in terms you're not able to find people. Now, at 45% of its workforce engaged in agriculture, the share in India is significantly higher than the share is significantly higher than the 27%, which is worldwide. Now, we can never move from being a developing to a developed economy. We can never move to everybody having the per capita income of Bangalore if you are able to not shift millions of people from agriculture into either services or manufacturing. Now, that's a Herculean task, So my question, first to Dr. Sanjeev is, what do we need to do to make that happen? What is the role of different players? What's the role of the government? Because without that happening, we will never be able to solve our supply side challenges.
Yeah, so I think Teamlease is also doing the same work which government is supposed to do. I have been following with Teamlease for, say, about now 8 years. So what what is my opinion in this? See, the government has got a very mindset that they want to make India as one of the, it has got a lot of talents. Question is only how to make the people employable, right? So a lot of, like apprenticeship schemes and a lot of things have come in. But what is happening, the employees, the talent which is available in the market, it doesn't suit to our requirement. To be very honest and humble to audience, Even the apprentice program, which government wanted to put it for the employable, people in the industry, right, including us, right, they first thought that it is one of the option of apprentice to save the, the compliances or the cost of the companies, right? But I think that this is not the right thing, which people realized laterly. They thought that certainly they also need to create a talent pool to take the organizations to be future ready. That is the reason the thing started changing. Initially, we had this option to try apprentice programs, but certainly it went the other side. Now today, we run apprentice programs. The government is ensuring that these apprentice programs are being undertaken by the people in the right spirit. Now, people feel that the apprentice programs is going to be the future and will going to stay in the organizations. Now, what are the government interventions required, right? Today, you see in our industries in retail, we don't have, the good sets of women employees who are basically very available for us, particularly in our industry. Also in the other industries also, we find that there is a lot of dearth of women employees coming in. So government, I feel, should take initiatives to build the women employed talent pools, because they can come up and bridge the gap, what is the skill gap, we call it. Second is, a lot of, the required desired skills in the terms of technology is lacking. For that, basically, government has already undertaken such kind of programs to come in to ensure that people that gets trained and they get the job accordingly. But certainly some infrastructure works of the education has to be done. There has to be, like AI university, which I said, there are more such kind of technology universities should come in, and government should fund those industries so that basically they can create basically a platform for the breeding the best skilled sets of the technology. Then the cognitive skills are still lacking. The cognitive skills are not there. So in that aspect also, I feel government has to do a lot of works. And last but not the least, the government has to also understand the employer's requirement in terms of skills. In that case, they have to have a more interaction with the industrial experts for the employees like of the industry, and take their feedback, so that basically they can be part and parcel of the skill vision which the government has.
I think Dr. Sanjeev has covered all the points, and my points are no more different than his. I will share one example. When Sanjeev was talking about taking feedback from industry and then building the education system accordingly, I'll take an example very live. Very recently, last year, we were looking out for printers, screen printers, right? And when I started scouting for the colleges and the diploma holders, we couldn't find one. And that is the irony. And at the shop floor, of course, a lot of issues. And then we had no option but to start our own academy of 3 months, calling the specialists from the industry to give that kind of training program, followed by the practicals. And then we have to invest some 30-40 lakhs to create that kind. Of course, the infrastructure was available, only the machine needs to be called and then other stuff. But then we have to really do that. And there, I was surprised to find that there is not even one diploma which gives the certification on screen printing. And screen printing itself is a big platform for employment. So taking feedback from industry, how do we leverage the diversity, building infrastructure, understanding the need from the industry, and then doing the backward work. So if I have to rephrase that I am putting India to work, I will rephrase that I am putting India to learn and grow. So that's how I would look at. But you have covered all the points which I wanted to state. Thank you.
So I think as we spoke about AI and the workforce, right? It has been spoken about since, in the second discussion as well. So just a follow up from that. So I think it starts from hiring that affects the attrition as well, right? To a certain extent. So measuring the IQ of a person at the start, it's easy to gauge because the first hiring process, it doesn't take a lot of efforts when it comes to AI. But when it comes to EQ of a person, right, that cannot be measured by AI. So is there any mechanism through which we can measure the EQ of a person? Because if you integrate ChatGPT with LinkedIn, it's easy to complete the entire hiring process. When it comes to EQ of a person, you would want to know what's the attitude of the person when he joins the organization, what's the career graph of that person in that specific organization. That is something which is lacking somewhere, right? So is there any mechanism through which we can automate this system and get the motivation of that person in that specific organization in a better manner? So that's what my question is. Yeah.
So rightly said, the cognitive ability you can definitely check from AI, and there are tools available. But how do we measure the emotional quotient? Of course, there is no tool at this moment. There are tools available which will have some references, but at the same time, it needs to be built in such a way that whatever. So if you're talking about EQ and you're talking about conflict management, for example, or team and people development, for example, you have to have the set behaviors which will demonstrate the EQ or the competency which you would like to assess under EQ. And if you're aware of those set of behavior, that you can feed it into the system, and then system can definitely, I don't know whether it is existing or not existing, I'm just thinking loud. Then system, while having the interview process, can take out the references of those behaviors is being talked about in the discussion, and some certain ratings can be given. This is nothing but BI tool, wherein we say that your past behavior predicts that how you will perform in future, right? So how you have dealt with conflicting situations, how you have developed your people in the past, how you have made them grow, how you have handled them. Certain questions around that will definitely some idea about the EQ, if that is the ask, and certain behaviors can be picked up by the system or the BI tool. So there are tools available to measure that. It could be through direct interview like you and me discussing, or through the system, through the AI panel.
Of course, there are behavioral traits which can be, captured by the mechanisms. But at the end, you need to have a face-to-face round at this at the end with the directors as well.
Everything can't be replaced by AI.
Exactly. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, so we've completely run out of time. I would like to thank Dr. Sanjeev and Poonam for being a wonderful panel. And I would like to thank all of you for being a wonderful audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, team.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjeev, Ms. Poonam Agarwal, and Mr. Sudeep George, for sharing your insights and experience on the future of work. As we move forward, we need to focus on developing advanced skills among our workforce. A key drivers for the employee engagement lies in creating a culture of belongings and developing career progression plans. With this, our third session also comes to an end. But I would request Mr. Sanjeev and Poonam to please stay on stage. Before we move forward to the closing note, I would request Mr. Karthik Narayan to come up on stage and honor our speakers for the presence. May I now request Ms. Ekta Kulkarni to please come up on stage. Mr. Manoj Shinde, Mr. Parth Bora, I would now request Mr. Yogesh Basole, Ms. Smita Gurman to please come on stage. Just a second. I would also request all the speakers to please come up on stage for a group photograph, please. So just a second. One group photograph. Yogesh sir, for a group photograph.
Jacket forward.
One side, this side.
I think I will go that side. All women men
All
together.
women, let's change it, yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you, everyone.
I would request Mr. Karthik Narayan to please come and give the closing note, please.
Everyone, thank you so much. I think we're just about 15 minutes later than what we wanted to finish, but I think wonderful set of discussion. I think the audience has been phenomenal in the kind of questions they've kind of asked. So really a big thank you to all of you from my side. I think one thing we can all agree is I think there are a lot more questions which came up. Perhaps not all the answers, but amongst many things, there seems to be a democratic set of challenges that just about everybody is facing, right? And let me try and summarize at least some of the points that came up, which I think is going to be really good for us as we go into future sessions that we take up. I think as we started out, one of the big points which came up, and obviously it's going to be true for us as at India at 100 is going to be that choices more than our ability is going to define our destiny, right? I think that's how we started out. And I think those are some of the choices that we need to make as we move forward. I think in the last session, I think the point that Poonam, put forward, which was saying, hey, listen, if our workforce is, if our families are changing, and the younger generation is asking themselves to behave in a particular fashion, how is it that we are holding our, offices more hostage to old ways of working? Now, I think that's a great point, and I think it's very important for us to kind of acknowledge, saying there is a generational shift which is taking place all across, and it's very important for us to make sure, saying we first acknowledge, have awareness, of course, first acknowledge saying those shifts are taking place, and therefore make sure saying we kind of adapt our workplace to the entire thing. I think some of the other points, Abhijit is not there with us, he had to leave, but I think this entire concept of alignment, integrating and differentiating is also extremely important. Among the much lesser understood things is about getting everybody on the same page. And I think to that extent, I think the concept, because careers are now getting shortened, when employees are getting onboarded, their ability to kind of come together, be aligned to what is the purpose of the company, is, I think, kind of withering away in some sense, right? I think there's a lot faster turnaround of things. Amongst many things, I think, which got, discussed, one of the things that really came out as a more important, aspect is that though the careers are shortened, and I think the point which typically came in the last discussion, I don't think so we can expect employees who come through to be loyal for a disproportionately long period of time as it used to happen, but definitely we can look forward to commitment for a short duration of time. And I think if you're looking forward to commitment for a shorter duration of time, what is it that we require to do to quickly onboard them and make sure saying they are able to kind of deliver, right? I think some of the points which came down, I think the second session, I think 𝐂𝐻𝐻, I think some of your points around, I think humans deliver services more than anything else, and for us to kind of keep that in mind, I think that's true. A lot of automation will take place, but I don't think so humans are going to get, displaced anytime soon. In any case, I think one of the articles that I read on ChatGPT which kind of hit the, nail on point, was saying as all the AI engines, etc., and all that, they can, as far as they can go, read the lines. But who will read between the lines, right? It's that's still going to be people who are going to read between the lines. So I think as far as aspects of creativity, innovation goes, I think we'll still require people who will come through and work. And I think for India at 100, it will be our responsibility as a fraternity to make sure saying our people are hugely productive. So, with that, I would like to, bring this session to a close. Thank you so much. I think everybody's been wonderfully patient. The air condition, though, was a bit colder for me, if I say, yeah. But I look forward to kind of speaking to, some of you during the lunch break. Please join us for lunch, and thank you so much for coming today.
We request each one of you to take a moment and provide us with your valuable feedback by filling the forms placed at your tables. Your feedback is crucial for us to continuously improve and deliver exceptional events in the future. And please enjoy the delightful lunch served in the lounge area. Thank you once again for joining us.